I have read a total of 12,641,600 words worth of My Hero Academia fanfiction. I don't think you understand. I read this many books of My Hero Academia fanfiction. 12,641,600. This is about 50,000 words. This is one book, and I have read 252.
Yes!
252 of these.
It's beautiful!
This book is 106,000 words. 126 and a half of these.
Woo! Woo!
I have read 252 books in the My Hero Academia series.
This many books.
In other words, I had never read a single fan fiction. Then the world shut down, and I read all the fan fiction. And I liked it. I had so much fun just reading endless stories about superhero high school. So many good stories. So many weird stories. I went from knowing nothing about fan fiction to knowing so much about fanfiction at a breakneck speed, and I have to talk about that. I've slowly worked on this video in the background of my life for like 3 years, so this video is varied. For a year, I did nothing but read My Hero Academia fanfiction. I don't know how to make you understand the extent of what that has done to me. So I decided to do math. We're gonna do math together. And the problem with trying to do any and all of these calculations is that I make them and then I don't get around to recording anything, so I read more, and then my calculations are off again. I'm just gonna give you numbers. I got new pen. My pen is so tiny. I can't find my big expo markers. Little tiny. I'm not running to the store after I finally have the motivation and it's all set up. I'm not getting new expo markers. I need my big fat ones. I got new pen. Well, I didn't. I found them in my grandmother's closet and I apprehended them from myself. Maybe I'll return them. Oh, I did it. I fit the N. Woo! This is terrible and I hate it. I'm just gonna put graphics on screen because editing, you could actually, figure out margins ahead of time. This is terrible. I don't like how this looks at all. Okay, I'm taking this away. Doing graphics later. I'm taking this away because my margins are terrible. This is here for me. I'd like to present to you the actual amount of My Hero Academia fanfiction that I read during pandemic time. From March 2020 to March 2021, I read 7,655,000 words in 268 distinct My Hero Academia fics. They have word counts for these things. I was as accurate as possible. Equivalent to 153 novels at 50,000 words each. Some books that hover around the 50,000 range. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The Great Gatsby, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Of Mice and Men, those all hover around 50,000 words as well. Something a little bit longer than this is about 50,000 words. So this is one book. My microphone's down here. 153 novels in My Hero Academia fanfiction. This took over my mental mindscape here. That is 76.55 novels at 100,000 words each. 100,000 word count examples, we have The Hobbit, The First Hunger Games, To Kill a Mockingbird, 76 100,000 word novels in a year! 119 of those fics that I read throughout that year, I didn't actually write down the titles or the authors for, so I'm not gonna be able to track these things down again. I know for sure that some of them were 50,000 words or more, so this is a low estimate. This is a very low estimate. I was also rounding down to the nearest 1,000 when I recorded the fics, so I could easily add another 80,000 to 100,000 words on top of that just for rounding errors. 2 whole book's worth of rounding errors that I just threw out the window. High estimate adding about 345,000 words on top of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's seven books worth of rounding errors and high counts of those mediocre fics. It's not at all an inaccurate number to say that I probably read 345,000 words more than I actually did. The high estimate for what I did over the course of a year, 8 million words worth of My Hero Academia fanfiction. I've never read so much in my life. I don't think any human is actually supposed to consume this much literature. Okay, so after this 1 year, in the past 6 months, I have read an additional 4,986,600 words in My Hero Academia fanfiction. Oh, that's like... Oh, my rate is increasing! I thought it was decreasing! Oh no! I'm reading like 33% faster? That's 5 million words. I've read 5 million words in 6 months, and I read 7,655,000 last year. I can't keep up this pace.
What are these things? Why are they here?
That's 100 novels at 50,000 words. How far, how much has this weeb really gone?
Laugh at me! Laugh at me!
Yeah, let's do it!
Hero school, hero school, hero school.
I don't know where to put this. Floor! I found the floor. So in 18 months, or a year and a half, from March 2020 to September of 2021, which is my present and your past, I have read a total of 12,641,600 words in 403 My Hero Academia fics. 252.8 novels at 50,000 words each. 126.4 novels at 100,000 words each. I have sinned. This is 106,000 at, a pretty normal kind of 12-point font. And that is about an inch. So we're going to say half an inch of a book binding like this is 50,000 words. 1 inch is 100,000 words. Every half inch is 50,000 words. So every half inch represents a My Hero Academia published novel. With that established, I don't think you understand. Yeah, so a half inch, 50,000 words. 25 and a half inches. Meaning, 1 inch is 100,000 words. 2,550,000 words per shelf. That is almost, to a T, 5 shelves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna... Oh yeah, I have to readjust the camera. I don't know how to set up a shot, so I guess we're vertical now. Tape measure. That many books? 5 shelves minus that much. That much fan fiction. I need books. You're not understanding how many books that is. That's 1 shelf. 25.5. I need more books. I need my literature. We need one more shelf. We need one more shelf full of books. Like that. Yes, we're almost there. We're almost to the top of the books. I read this many books of My Hero Academia fanfiction. This is 5 shelves exactly. And that's my accurate estimate. This is low. And these are my rounding errors. This is my high estimate. That is my high estimate. This is what 13 million words looks like. We didn't have enough books. I stole them all. This is 130 inches. 13 million words. You too can do this in only 18 months. All you have to do is to stay inside during the pandemic. Books. Oh, I'm very scared. Yes! You don't see what I see. I've read this many books in 18 months. Part 2. I can explain. First of all, some people made works of art. Some people improved themselves, learn new skills, reconnect. I read fan fiction for a year. Second, explain. I was violently ill, but not in the way you would expect. So many hives. So sick. Could not move. Moving is pain. I was very ill. I was extremely ill. I could not move. Fan fiction. Reason 3, there's no, I can't justify this. There's nothing I can do. I have no excuse. I can't explain. So why My Hero Academia and literally nothing else? One of the best reasons why I got sucked into My Hero Academia was because it's not perfect. There's a lot of room for improvement. So in my mind, that means it has a lot of unfulfilled potential. I love shows like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and Steven Universe and Gravity Falls and Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't really have any desire to seek out additional stories for those franchises because they did such a good job in the first place that they left me satisfied. Anything that was open-ended didn't need to be answered, and it was a good sense of mystery. But with My Hero Academia, it's not perfect, you know? There's a lot of things that I just wish had not happened the way they did. Because it's not perfect, it really lends itself to creative interpretation. Shows I really love are like a 10 out of 10. My Hero Academia, initially was a 6 out of 10. Rewatching it now, it's more just because I like it, because I'm so invested in the characters. Not because it's the best storytelling, but because it's fun. It was fine. It was alright. It's what I like to call a paint-by-numbers anime. You know, you kind of know how it's gonna go. You got your protagonist, you got your rivals, you got your mentors. Nothing too new or exciting, but fun. Mostly what you'd expect with the little twists here and there. Plot was kind of meandery, the villains were pretty lame, there's just way too many characters. Way too much fan service, obviously. Over-explanation anime thing they do. A little bit smarter, maybe a little bit more put together than Fairy Tail. So if I had gotten to this first, or if it had been released, you know, when I was in high school, I probably would have gotten into My Hero in the same obsessive level that I did with Fairy Tail. You know, that's absurd, because I'm so much more obsessed with the idea of My Hero than I ever was with, like, the idea of Fairy Tail, but I watched that show way more. It doesn't matter. Yeah, just more than anything, I really wanted certain arcs of the show to just be better, and that was the driving force for seeking out people writing different arcs better. They had a lot of potential. The story was very interesting, very cool, very exciting, but just didn't hit the way I wanted it to. Lo and behold, fanfics are literally just making canon better. Who knew? I didn't, that's for sure. Because if the show had been perfect, I really wouldn't have wanted any more interpretations. I would have just wanted to, like, put it on a shelf, look at it, buy merch, and leave. But because it isn't perfect, I have gotten sucked into this more than I have anything else in my entire life, and I don't know how to feel about that. Why is it the mediocre thing that has caused me to obsessively stay in my bed until my arms are aching and my side hurts because I don't want to move because I need to know how it ends? Because My Hero was such a good flavor of, you know, it's alright, I just craved more stories in a very cool world to make those story arcs more engaging. One of the things that really drew me into this fandom as opposed to any others was just that it's a fun world to live in. It's a fun world to exist in, to explore the concepts and stories. I love superpowers. I want to know more about the world. Like, everybody's got a superpower. I love it. There's so many possibilities from just the premise alone. Everyone on Earth has a superpower. Beautiful! It's like 4 generations after mutants when everybody is a mutant now. Such a shift in the way society works. You can give the main character any new superpower, and that's going to drastically alter the story that you're going to write. Or you could just leave him quirkless. Nobody leaves him quirkless! My Hero leaves so many plot threads just lingering about that really all you have to do is just grab onto one of those and then just run with it, and you've got an entire new story that can focus on just one of those plot threads. You got a quirkless character in a quirked society. I would watch a whole series about that. There's a centuries-long blood feud between All for One and the generations of bearers of One for All. League of Villains. Dabi over here, who's just obviously Todoroki's son the first, so son of the number 2 hero becomes the villain, who is brother of the trauma child in the hero course. Like, we could do so many stories just about that. There's a corrupt hero government happening here.
More details about superhero high school, please.
Vigilante Stains, just all of his claims about corrupt hero society. And are these heroes or are these just celebrities?
What if quirks keep getting stronger each generation?
And, of course, the number 2 hero of Japan is literally abusive, and that will lead to a whole, erase Eraserhead is literally so cool. Just do anything with Eraserhead and we're good.
What if Shinso was actually a regular character as he should be?
Who is Hawks? What's his deal? He's cool and traumatized, I think. Overhaul here, just erasing quirks and being Yakuza. Practically every student in the school is interesting and a good character, if they have a character. And if not, they got a really cool superpower and we can explore that. Each one of them I would love to see more time dedicated to, and of course the show can't do that because they got 20 minutes and we don't have time. There's just so much potential for interesting storylines in canon, and it's great. The thing is that all of it in canon is just spread so thin that it's ultimately pretty lackluster. But fanfics will take any one of those storylines and just run with it and ask the question, more! My third reason for why I became obsessed with My Hero Academia, literally nothing else, is just it has so many characters. This is kind of actually like a detriment to the canonical anime itself, but to fanfiction, this is a boon, because now there's just so many other possibilities, and you can have fics that feature an entirely different cast of characters than what you see in canon. So you have like B casts and C casts and D casts, and we can just take any of these characters and just run to the hills with them. We got Guy, who's literally a gothic raven, homeschooled Zuka,
Homeless Caterpillar Teacher Edition, is bully or is traumatized.
We got Crispy Itachi. There's no time in canon to really do justice to any of these. I mean, we got a Crispy Itachi who hasn't done anything for 5 seasons. We got a Gothic Raven. I want more Gothic Raven. Why do we not have more Gothic Raven? In comparison to something like Death Note, which has 3 characters, 3 interesting ones.
No, Misa, no.
My Hero has at least 80 interesting characters, I would say. There's a lot more,
but there's at least 80 that you kinda need to know.
There's room to play around, is all I'm saying. Are you getting tired of traumatized Midoriya fics? Well, head on over to Hawks in the League of Villains. Too much Dobby angst for you? Welcome to the Teacher's Lounge, where we are definitely not adopting all of our students. They're definitely adopting all of the students. Too many old farts in the lounge for you? Well, we got the Baku Squad for memes and young person interactions. Time for All for One to make an appearance, probably as Midoriya's estranged father. Even though there's all these characters, most fics will still stick with Midoriya as the protagonist. And Midoriya works really well as a lead character. The fact that Midoriya has so many different aspects of his personality and so many different facets to him, that really lets a whole variety of fics be written about him and seem all as if they could be believably the same character. So a fanfiction author will just hone in on one trait and just run with it. That leads to a lot of varied interpretations of Midoriya, which all still ring very true to the character. Midoriya has childhood trauma, a heart of gold. Being quirkless, he's part of a marginalized group.
He breaks his bones for sport.
He's nervous, determined, kind, and strong. Kind of a genius analyst. All of these can work together to make one nervous, smart, and determined kid. Or you can really dig into the nerves and go like hard in on the trauma. You can go full panic attack is all I'm saying. Or the smarts can make him into a quirkless analyst in a world of quirked heroes, which is very interesting, and being like a normie who uses his brain in a world of superheroes. Or you could turn all that determination and all that angst and really convert him into a very believable villain. He's got the backstory for it, that's for sure. The man's got potential. Now, I'm sure that every respective fandom is going to do this to their own characters, but Midoriya has much more going on upstairs than, like, Natsu or Naruto. I want to spend more time with Midoriya, but for as cool as, Naruto and Natsu are, that would get trying after a while. A lot of screaming and not a whole lot of emotion, brain, nuance, anything. For as cool as Naruto is, I really just want to turn the volume down on all his screaming about his not boyfriend, I guess the last reason for why I became so obsessed with My Hero Academia, to the point that I read it for 18 months and haven't stopped, and I see no foreseeable end to this in the future. Just timing. Just kind of got into fanfiction at a time when My Hero was still relevant, and I'm like, oh yeah, I like that show enough, I'll look into it. I wasn't obsessed with anything else at the time. I'd finished all the other shows, finally finished Naruto. That was an experience. And I was still interested enough in My Hero to decide that it was worth my time to read a little bit about it. It's not too perfect, I'd like to see things improved.
I was interested enough that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not worried about spoiling canon for myself. It's a really cool world. I love me some superheroes. Groups of superheroes. Oh, I love groups of superheroes. A ton of cool characters. I love Asui, I love Tokoyami. And timing, so it was still relevant at the time and still ongoing and very popular, so it also has a lot of good fics to it. I was obsessed with it at the time, but I also wasn't too worried about spoilers since it wasn't perfect and it wasn't my main thing. So I was able to just not worry about spoilers for something that would possibly come out in the future and still kind of dive head on into it. My Hero hit with a perfect mix of interest and apathy for me to be like mercilessly strangled by its fandom. And I have died from it. And I will never be revived. I don't know how this happened. I don't know how I got here. I followed like a rabbit trail online, and next thing I knew, it was a year later. I really don't know how this happened. And then the year was over.
I only ever make good choices. I only ever make good choices. I only ever make good choices. I only ever make good choices.
Okay, it's been a while. It's been a minute, hasn't it? This project has taken me as long as it has taken me to recover from being violently ill. I don't have a plan. It's my birthday and I'm trying not to have an existential breakdown. Therefore, I'm doing this. It's not working. This is not helping. If I had known that I was going to dye my hair black, I would have done the Aizawa parts after I have his hair now, and I already filmed the Aizawa scenes, and now I am Aizawa. If I knew I was going to be Aizawa, I would have been Aizawa. I don't really think ahead. This was not in the plan for today. Also, new camera. Ain't that exciting. I need a better microphone situation because everything is always echoey and terrible, and I just want sound to not sound like this all the time. Is that such a hard thing to accomplish? The quality's gonna jump wildly. I'm like a year older. I'm a year older. I'm having an existential breakdown on my birthday. The goal is not to cry today. What have I done to myself? What is this thing called fanfiction, and why My Hero Academia? Before we get into any of the nonsense that I've subjected myself to willingly over the last, 2 years? I feel like I should orientate you all to the plot of My Hero Academia. But obviously we already know the plot if we clicked on this video. You scream desperately, shamelessly, and wiggly. Not if you clicked on the video solely to be entertained by the cringe that is coming from this weird weeb who read 13 million words worth of My Hero Academia fanfiction. Oh, says you. Still all wiggly for some reason. Or you might not know canon if you're my brother and yet need a review on what's actually going on in the show because all you have to go off of are 2-hour-long rants that I, scream at you every once in a while as I run into your room or yell at you on a road trip to Vegas. My brother and I went to Vegas and we went to Omega Mart and I talked about My Hero Academia canon and fanfiction on the way there, and we didn't even think about drinking. We are not the most exciting people, but we're very interesting. Oh! Says you. Very wiggly still in a way which actually might require consultation with a physician. Why are you so wiggly? Stop it. Stop wiggling.
Oh!
This does not seem normal. Why are you so wiggly? Canon summary. Edit this all together. Me, who's having a very bad day. I can see you because you're editing, therefore you're having a bad day. Editing is so hard. And then I just wrote song, interpretive dance, Gesamtkunstwerk? I don't know that word.
Gesamtkunstwerk.
I'll explain the show. Okay, I'll explain the show.
In My Hero Academia, superpowers are called quirks to be quirky. And everybody's got them, except this kid, cause his toes are wrong. A superhero is now a salaried job you can have now, apparently. Season 1. Explosion Boy Bakugo calls Broccoli Boy Deku because it means useless. And Explosion Boy is me. Sentient sewer water attacks Deku to make him into a medium-sized skin suit.
suit. But Buff, number one hero, All Might saves the day.
Yo, can I be a quirkless hero?
Asks the Deku. All Might turns into Skeletor, upchucks blood, and says no. Sentient sewer water attacks Bakugo to make him into a medium-large-sized skin suit. But Deku goes, ah! And cries a lot. Buff, All Might saves the day.
Yo, can I be a quirkless hero?
Asks the Deku. No, he says. Deku weeps. But you can eat my hair and then get super buff like me and then be a hero.
Yay!
All Might's got a quirk called One for All that can be passed down to others by eating his hair.
Oh gosh.
It's the entrance exam for UA, the Hero High School. UA doesn't stand for anything. It's not an acronym. It's a pun on the Japanese AU, which is like kanji for hero in Japanese. AU, they swapped that to make it UA. It doesn't stand for anything. UA doesn't stand for anything. They smash a bunch of robots in the entrance exam, and Deku turns his bones into soup. Hobo Sensei, Mr. Aizawa Eraserhead homeroom teacher, is exhausted and already doesn't want to deal with 20 superpowered high schoolers. He sleeps, and this is a good choice. Bakugo continuously goes through gifted child existential breakdowns, cause he's not the best anymore. He is freaking out about quirkless Deku now having the power to turn his bones into soup. Deku soups his bones during class twice, makes friends with trypophobia calves Ida, and Floaty McPukes a lot. Uraraka! Oh no! Villains attack the class on their field trip. The villains want to kill their teacher, All Might.
Oh no! I'm Shigaraki. I have severed hands on my face.
Nomu are freaky chimera guys with many quirks, and they are good at killing things. All Might saves the day, but Midoriya still turns his legs into soup. Season 2. Sports Festival, it's a tournament arc, baby! Woohoo! Candy cane hair Todoroki approaches Deku. Yo, I'm going to destroy you. Deku's like, who are you? Todoroki's like, yo, my dad has Daffy Duck syndrome from being the perpetual number 2 hero under All Might. So he bought my mom for her power so he could breed a child with an ice and fire quirk so that child could surpass All Might. Then he beat me and my mother until she went insane and poured boiling water on my face because I looked too much like my father. So now I refuse to use my fire powers because he's a bad dad and I don't like him. Midoriya's like, oh my god, dude, we've never spoken before. Are you okay?
Eye bags for so over here with super cool brainwashing powers.
He just wants to be a hero. Uraraka nearly eviscerates Bakugo with a meteor shower.
Oh my gosh. Shark-toothed smiley boy Kirishima is busy over here being manly.
Deku turns his bones into soup at Todoroki to convince him to use his fire powers. This seems to work. They are friends now. Goodbye, animation budget. Todoroki is sad now, so he forfeits the match with Bakugo, and Bakugo is upset.
Hero names. We're choosing everybody's hero names.
These are my favorites.
My name is I Cannot Stop Twinkling.
I cannot stop twinkling. Trypophobia calves Ida tries to do a murder. Castain, the hero killer vigilante, paralyzed his hero brother. But Deku and Todoroki say, stop being stupid, Ida. And they punch a vigilante, and so he stops. At a mall, Shigaraki is all like, meh.
I don't know what to do. I'm Shigaraki. Deku, what should I do?
Deku is like, Season 3, a summer camp to remember. The League of Villains is here and ready to beat up some high schoolers. Deku turns his bones into soup at a villain. Crispy emo villain Dobby's all like, so sad, Shoto Todoroki. And we're all like,
oh, he's a secret brother.
Button girl villain Toga just wants to stab people. Funny sweet villain Twice is the best
best thing ever, and he is my sunshine villain, and I love him. Kuragiri warping butler villain is very cool as always. Bakugo gets himself all kidnapped by the villains. Oh no. Deku freaks out and is all like, we have to save my boyfriend, oh my gosh. Kirishima freaks out and is all like, we have to save my boyfriend, oh my gosh. The league is all, we saw you freak out at the sports festival. Yo, wanna join our club? Bakugo is all, LOL, no. All Might is all, I am here. All for one, the biggest and baddest villain is all, yo, I am also here. All Might is like, oh no. Kirishima and friends go flying. Kirishima's like, Bakugo, take my hand. Goodbye, animation budget. All my punches, all for one with one for all. He wins, but is now skinny on live TV. Oh no. Happy retirement, All Might. Bakugo is slowly getting nicer. Time to get hero licenses. Todoroki gets yelled at by some guy who doesn't like his dad. And Todoroki's like, who are you? But he's still distracted and fails the test. Bakugo yells at too many people and fails the test. Bakugo is mad that he failed the test. And he also blames himself for making All Might skinny forever. So he yells at Deku and they punch each other with emotions. This is cathartic and healing for them, maybe, I think. They seem to be better now. Also, Deku is like, yo, I ate all my hair, and now I have the ability to turn my bones into soup. Bakugo's like, ew. Season 4, twice as all, yo, Overhaul, you wanna join our club? Overhaul is all, LOL, no. And then he explodes their villain friend Magna. Oh my gosh. Mirio, the public nudist upperclassman, takes Midoriya to intern under hero Night Eye, All Might's former sidekick. Night Eye is a jerk. Overhaul is a bigger jerk. Overhaul does experiments on Eri, the little child. Oh no. Eri's blood can make quirk erasing bullets. Oh no. Shy student Amajiki is like, yo, Mirio, you're the sun, and I'm the Sun Eater. Kirishima is always scared, and he screams and keeps going, and he's the best. Mirio gets shot with a quirk erasing bullet. Oh no. How will he randomly become nude now? And Eri is a Deus Ex Machina who can turn back time. So she unsoups Deku's bones every time they soup themselves, so he can punch the germophobic villain man. Eri is saved. Shigaraki and his goonies frickin' chop off Overhaul's arms on his way to prison. Oh, okay. Okay, I guess the villains are scary now. Night Eye frickin' dice. Todoroki and Bakugo have been fighting toddlers.
Excuse me, kid.
Endeavor's like, I guess I'll try to be a better dad now. Todoroki is like, ew. I cannot stop twinkling. Aoyama is busy sparkling and threatening people with cheese carvings because he thinks this is how you make friends. Time to be a band, we're a band now. Woo! Endeavor's the #1 hero now. Some guy with wings called Hawks is the #2 hero. And oopsie doopsie, now they have to fight a Nomu that can talk. Goodbye, animation budget. Season 5. Hawks is all, we did a good job with that talking Nomu Dabi. And we're like, oh my gosh. Then Hawks is all, I'm doing a good job infiltrating the League of Villains. And we're all like, oh my gosh. Todoroki family drama. Da 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 da. Todoroki family drama. Da 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 da. Deku's hearing dead people now. Oops.
Oopsie doopsie. Hobo Sensei is training Hobo students to get into the hero course, and I am so gosh darn happy. Midoriya's like, oopsie doopsie, I'm becoming overpowered because a new quirk of his just comes out of nowhere and tries to freaking kill him. Kurogiri has been captured and is actually the dead reanimated Nomu body of Oboro Shirakumo, who was Aizawa and Loud Hero Present Mike's old friend from high school. Oh no. Meanwhile, Shigaraki just fights a big dude for like several months in a row to power up or something, I don't know. Season 6! OMG, everybody's fighting, it's a war, oh my gosh, there's so much blood! Hux and Twice are best friends forever, and nothing bad will ever happen between them. No, never! Mirko, the bunny rabbit hero, uses her Beyblade thighs to freaking kill some creepy talking Nomu. Goodbye, animation budget. Mirko's arm is turned into soup. Hux freaking kills Twice. No! I'm so legitimately upset. No! He's my favorite. I love Twice. Fat taxi. Shigaraki disintegrates like an entire city with just his pinky finger, man. Oh my gosh. Everything is destroyed except for Shigaraki's cell phone. How convenient. Shigaraki's like, I'm gonna get you, broccoli boy. Midoriya's like, and he frickin' runs. Sexy Hero Midnight and company fight a big giant boy. Sexy Hero Midnight frickin' dies. Bakugo is totally cool now. Yay for character growth. Shigaraki shoots Aizawa with a quark erasing bullet. Oh my gosh, no! Aizawa immediately frickin' chops off his own leg to save his quirk. Oh my gosh, Aizawa, you're so cool, but dude, how sharp is that knife? You just carry that around with you? Deku's got so many new quirky powers now. Wow. Deku turns into soup. All for One's doing an Orochimaru on Shigaraki and is all like, I guess your body's mine now. This is gross. Dobby's being all dramatic, and he screams out to the world, I am Toya Todoroki! And we're all like, oh my gosh, we know! All for One puppet Shigaraki's soup body and breaks every villain out of villain prison. Japan's in a state of ruin and anarchy. Oh no! Hawks has a tragic backstory. The Todorokis have a tragic backstory. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed that the Todorokis have even more tragic backstory? I never would have guessed.
Deku's like, ooh, I got dead people in my head now.
Deku's all like, ooh, I'm gonna go on my stupid arc.
Stay away from me. It's the only way to keep you safe. Ooh. Let me write you all a letter revealing my secret power I got from eating All Might's hair.
Class 1A is like, Deku, stop being dumb. And Deku's like, fine, okay, I guess. The whole city is like,
ew, we hate Deku, don't bring him back to school.
But Uraraka's like, shut up, he's awesome. And everyone's like, fine, okay, I guess. And that's all that's I've seen so far. And season 7 hasn't come out yet, but I'm pretty sure that sometime during season 7, they're gonna punch a lot of people and someone's gonna turn into soup.
First of all, I look legitimately very silly. I didn't want to spend 5 hours meticulously cutting the hair on a Party City wig to try and get the perfect coif for an emo anime boy. I look like an emo troll. I originally titled this section, Transition, that's in all caps. Explain why knowing this is important, because fanfictions are underglorified sequels that require a lot of previous knowledge on the part of the reader to understand. That is the title of this part. I have no idea what that means. What I'm trying to say is you have to know what canon is in order to even enter into the fanfiction in the first place. Now that should seem very obvious if you've ever read fanfiction before, or if you've ever entered into any fandom ever. However, I did not know this. A lot of this video is just me trying to understand what fanfiction is and why I read so much of it and what that even means. I don't think I've actually succeeded in any of those goals. Fanfiction is first and foremost just sequels. It's sequels to canon. Even if it's just retelling canon events, you still need to know canon in order to appreciate sequels. If it had been a full year since you had watched the show for the first time before you picked up fanfiction, you're gonna be thrown for a loop. It's nice to get into the fandom while you still have active knowledge about the fandom, or else you're gonna be drastically confused for a long time. Like me. Fanfictions are so fully and wholly sequels that they fail to do the most basic introductory details that you would need in any other sort of media. Meaning they don't give you character descriptions, or introductions, or names, or backstory relations, which is understandable, because most people, like myself now, have read these things like a billion times over to the 10th degree, squared and shot off into space. That's how much math we're doing. It's astronomical amounts of space math. Published novels, they're introducing those characters for the first time. Every setting you're getting is brand new. Every character you're getting is brand new. In fanfiction, the majority of the burden of information gathering is on the reader. Meaning they assume, I have a doll that's just staring at me over here, and I just keep looking over to this face, like laying down. But I just realized that her hand is just like waving about for like dramatically. I never realized how like scary this doll was until recently, when I found it in a recess of my living quarters. She's like, why? Like, is she doing a gang sign? Like, why are her fingers like that? Okay, yeah, you look. I don't need you. Oh, you're still watching me. I don't need you watching me. That's So she was staring at me. That was intimidating. I was intimidated by that. The burden of information gathering and knowledge is fully on the fanfiction reader, as you're assumed to have read the prequel already. You're assumed to have watched the show that the novels are based off of. Since they are sequels, they are assuming that you know a lot of information. However, they are assuming that you know all of the information, down to the tiniest little detail. I'm talking if there's like a out-of-place atom on Bakugo's explosion coiffed hair, you're supposed to know when it's out of place. You're supposed to know everybody's name, every nickname they have for each other, every city name that is any location ever, every organization and hero allyship, every school and like clique within the school. Everything is already pre-established and assumed to be known. And the only way to learn it is to be introduced to it over and over and over again until you absorb it into your very being. The Baku Squad is not a thing, people. You do realize that the Baku Squad is really not a thing in canon. I'm saying Bakugo is better friends with like Todoroki than Ashidomina, you know? You're assumed to know the power sets of everybody, the quirks names of everybody, the hero rankings, the number 1 hero. They'll often just be like, the number 3 hero walked into the room and started a conversation with number 2. Who are these people? And you have to know at what point in the storyline they're talking about, because that might shift over time depending on canonical events. Because if the fanfiction was written after season 2 came out, that could be Endeavor talking to an original character. But if it was made after season 4 came out, that's obviously going to be Hawks talking to probably like Best Jeanist. It's gonna change according to time. So I think the thing about fanfiction is that it makes for a very niche and very unique media genre, one that's really not encountered very many other places, as it's all very clearly sequels and very clearly established in universe, while also creating its own universe simultaneously. It's very cool. I like it a lot. Fanfiction is unique as it is a written work with no prequel that demands the prequel. And often that prequel isn't even canon itself, but is just the built-up headcanons that the rest of the fandom have made in their fanfiction. Often the prequels to sequels are literally just other sequels, and you have to read enough to kind of establish what other people have decided that is going to be norms. So there's 2 things you kind of have to understand about fanfiction sequels. 1, you need to know canon, which is the canonical prequel, and 2, you have to start gaining a sense of the unknowable prequel, which is all of the things that have been decided by fans to be part of the lore. Things like Shinzo often being adopted by Aizawa and Yamada, who are often married. These things are common and can sometimes be assumed and therefore lead to interactions or implications that you might not have picked up otherwise. So there's this mysterious, unknowable prequel, and the unknowable prequel is the collective headcanons of everybody. Bakugo being called Ground Zero. I legitimately thought that his hero name was Ground Zero. The Yamazawa family, as of season 5 of My Hero Academia, I guess it's still not canonically established that Dabi for sure is Toya Todoroki. For a long time, part of that mysterious, unknowable prequel, the collective headcanon, part of that is knowing that Dabi the villain is the son of the number 2 hero, Endeavor, and his name is Toya Todoroki. So a lot of reading the sequels is just learning the information that they assume you already know. And that's going to affect how you approach stories at different points. Because some of my first stories that I read was just me encountering a lot of these character dynamics for the first time. And some of the last ones that I read, I'm just like, okay, this again. When you first encounter Yamada and Aizawa paired, I'm like, yeah, I don't see that at all. Whereas at the end, you're like, oh yeah, they're absolutely together. And stuff like that can affect how you approach different stories or how they feel. You're going to read a fan fiction differently at the beginning of your delve into a fandom than at the end of that delve, because you're going to have the knowledge of the unknowable prequel that you didn't before. Another little note about sequels is, since the sequel is a different medium entirely than the original, they're different beasts, meaning that novels that are fan fiction, they don't do description well, since the prequel is visual and you don't need to describe anybody. You see that character and you know what they look like. If that's assumed that you already know what they look like, they will forget to tell you their hair color, their eye color, their quirk, if they have human features or not, how tall they are. It's just a lot to learn in a medium in which all of the physical descriptions are already assumed knowledge. And often they'll just be like, blue eyes met red, and they knew exactly who to take down in the fight. And I'm like, who has blue eye? Wait, who has red eyes? I have to memorize everybody's eye color now? It's a little ridiculous. I would like you to just use names and stick to one name. But that's a me thing. Personally, I had not watched My Hero Academia for almost a year before I started reading fanfiction. I literally did not remember any of these characters. Who has red eyes? Who's black? Who's looking at who? Who is the redhead? Who is the loud, angry blonde? Help! Use their names. Using names is fun and good. That's why we have names. It's nice. It's very helpful. Because if you don't, you could write a line like, the loud, angry blonde was throwing a fit again. And you think off the top of your head, you know who that is. But if you think about it, that could be so many different people, and the context does not always make it clear. If you say, the loud, angry blonde was throwing a fit again, that could literally be like Bakugo, Hawks, Aoyama, Kaminari, Best Genus, All Might, Mirio, anybody but Ojiro. It's never Ojiro. Nothing is ever Ojiro. He is nothing and does nothing and has no personality. Toga, Monoma, Present Mai, even Mount Lady or Kami. Technically, it could be Hagakure. We don't know. We don't know her hair color. There's a lot of loud, angry blondes. Even if one is the loudest and the blondest, he's not the only loud, angry blonde that could conceivably be throwing a fit again. Ah! Oh, don't mind me. I'm just hydrating myself out of my warning. Do not soak, do not microwave, My Hero Academia ramen bowl. I have a friend who works at GameStop.
I don't know why I'm chugging.
Oh boy. Names. We got first names, we've got last names, we've got hero names, we have canonical nicknames, we have fanatical nicknames, we've got group chat names. Why do you change the group chat names every single time? They don't have to change. Code names for missions, class numbers, 2B? Why are we bringing 2B into this? Who are all of these pro heroes? Don't assume I know the quirks, the personality, the first and last names of every pro hero and every member of Class 1B. Describe and introduce them to me, please. I am floundering in names. I will sell you a firstborn child of questionable origin if you will only stop referring to characters solely by the coloration of their irises. I cannot keep this information straight, and I have been doing this for over a year. I don't know how you expect anybody else to be able to keep every single character in this franchise's eye coloration straight if even I cannot do this, and I did nothing but read about these characters for a year. Even image searching these characters leads to questionable iris color interpretation. How am I supposed to figure out what they're talking about when they say red eyes meet green? Who's looking at each other? Just use their names, please. I have to memorize like 1,000 characters' names for one person, and I'm supposed to keep that straight for over 100 characters? I don't think so. No, I refuse. Pick one name and use that name! Okay. So there's lots of names to know. There's a lot of names you have to know to be able to read these stories and understand who the heck they're talking about. Because they're not just gonna say, oh, Deku walked up to All Might. No, they'll say green eyes looked at the mentor yellow. And I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Use their names and choose one name. All Might, Deku. Don't go Midoriya, Deku, the hero name, Broccoli Man is 3,000, Green Eyes, Viridian Wonder. Choose one name, because now I have to remember all of these names for over 100 characters. I don't think so. So there's too many names. In my infinite stupidity, I somehow managed to film this entire section twice. The whole section. I filmed the names segment twice. And I don't know how this happened. I don't know. I say very specific lines twice. I will sell you a firstborn child of questionable origin. You'd think I would remember doing that, but no. Not only did I film them twice, but I edited them fully twice. And that left me with 2 complete, filmed, edited sections of the same section, and now I gotta figure out how to put them together. I'm conveying the same information in 2 very different styles. I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with that. I have to figure out how to smush these together. That's why it's like this. That's why this is like this. There have been very few other things that I've encountered in life which have infuriated me to such a passionate extent other than the names of My Hero Academia. There's nothing more completely and utterly pointless and meaningless and not at all problems that are actual problems that have driven me to the brink of falling, completely just falling, me on the ground, dead, than the amount of names in My Hero Academia, because they assume that you know all of them. I will sell you a firstborn child of questionable origin if you will only stop referring to characters solely by the coloration of their iris. I cannot keep this information straight, and I've been doing almost nothing but this for over a year, so nobody else can do this either. Nobody knows the iris color of over 90 characters in My Hero Academia. It's not practical, it's not safe, it's not healthy, it's not kind, it's not nice to do this. You gave no description of the character, no name other than the color of ring number 2 in the seeing organ. It's not a visual medium anymore. I don't know their colors. You just assumed that I've memorized the color of the second eye ring of 90 fictional characters from a Japanese anime. I have not done this. I don't know if you think I don't know why you think I have, but I haven't. I mean, I kind of have now. Image searching this brings up questionable coloration for, like, Ida, I don't know, is he blue? Does he have blue eyes? Is it black? I can't tell. He's only has pupils. Who are you talking about? Who's making dreamy eyes at each other? I can't tell. I don't understand romantic undertones, and now I can't even tell who's ogling each other. Please, I need help. Look, they could be,
I'm not picking up on those undertones. I don't know if you're flirting or about to fight each other. I don't even know who we're talking about. If I knew who we're talking about, previous knowledge from that mysterious, unknowable prequel, meaning if it's Kirishima and Bakugo, they're probably not gonna fight each other. They're probably gonna smooch or something. But if they say the people with red eyes looked at each other, I'm like, who? Wait, there's more people with red eyes here in this, like... I have no idea who you're talking about. Please use names, please. Anyhow, I could rant and extrapolate on the name situation for over an hour because I actually have. But basically, here's a little overview for that.
Problem number 1. They're Japanese names, so that makes them fundamentally a little more tricky for me to learn since they're not already established words in my vocabulary. One more step from Mary and Sue to realize that Ochako is a first name and Uraraka is a last name. A bit of a learning curve on my part. Problem number 2. They're Japanese names, which means that characters refer to one another by their family name, by their last name, unless those two characters are very close to one another, if they're very good friends. This means that you not only have to memorize everybody's both first and last names, but also keep track of who refers to who by what name and understand the indication of how close those two people are interpersonally. This leads to an elaborate web of names and interpersonal relationships. A little more complicated than, SpongeBob and Patrick.
If Midoriya ever turns to Bakugo and says, Katsuki, I need to talk to you, you know something's up, because if Deku doesn't call Kachan, it's either Toga in disguise, because she didn't know about the nickname, or that kid is angry and about to throw down, or maybe he's in love and about to smooch. It depends on context, but something is up and something's about to go down.
Problem number 3. They're Japanese names, which means that when fanfiction writers are interpreting the source material for their books, they could be getting their source material from a subbed anime, a dubbed anime, or the manga. This means that half of the authors are writing their character's name as surname, given name, and the other half are writing them as given name, surname. All of this is absolute madness when you're reading these fics and learning these characters' names for the first time through fanfiction. You're desperately trying to sort out everyone's names, and you cannot, for the life of you, figure out whether the purple boy's given name is Shinso or Hitoshi. Localization of spelling. Some sources directly transliterate into Romaji. Some just kind of use more conventional English spelling conventions. Officially, Ochako, as in the first name of Uraraka, Floaty McPukes-a-lot. Officially, Ochako is spelt with a C. What you find on all of the merchandise in stores. I have never once encountered Ochako spelt with a C in fanfiction. Ochako is always spelt with a K. In English, C's are used more. So I see this on a merch of a Funko Pop for Ochako Uraraka, and it looks fundamentally wrong.
No one has ever spelled Ochako with a C. Nobody cares about spelling except me. So that's a me thing. That bothers me. Ochako should be with a K. Why is it with a C? I don't like it. I want it to be K.
It makes it kind of an ordeal if you ever want to write out these characters' names correctly, because there's... What is correctly? Problem 4. This is a show about superheroes, so not only does everybody have a first and last name that you have to memorize, and yes, you do have to memorize them for all the characters, because you never know, anyone can be a target for main or secondary character focus in these fics. It's the Wild West out there. Anybody could be a main character, even Shindo. And no, not Shinso, Shindo. Shindo-yo, different from Shinso. Oh no, you thought I said Shota? Oh no, not Shota, Shoto, not Shoto, Shindo! Ah! This is like naming everybody in your story Mary, Carrie, Larry, and Barry. You thought I said Ojiro? No, it's Jiro. Jiro and Ojiro? No, those are two completely different people. what is cool and what has a tail. But on top of all that rhyming nonsense, everybody also has a hero name, which adds a third name to the list of things to remember per 100+ characters.
Turning the page. Turning the page.
Out of the box. Out of the box.
Problem 5. Not only do you have surnames, given names, and hero names, but you have nicknames thrown on top of all of that even! It really adds a lot of personality into the characters' like interpersonal relationships once you understand how all these characters relate to one another. But it's insanity to try and sort through it for the first time. Just off the top of my head, we've got Kirishima, Eijiro, Kiri, Eiji, the Sunshine Man, Best Boy, hero named Red Riot, nice person, you could just call him Red, a light of happiness. This guy, 1,000 names for that one little guy! Little sharp teeth. Shark boy!
Close your eyes, shut your mouth, dream a dream, and get us out. Dream, 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 dream. Hit the hay, fast asleep, dream a dream, you little bleep! Dream, 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 dream. Just relax, lay about, or my fist will put you out. Dream, 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 dream. Take your time, but beware, there's darkness in the air. Dream, 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 dream. Don't despair, step right up. Glass of water, here's a cup. Dream, 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 dream. Dreaming sweet dreams is so manly.
And then you have the fics where the author themselves decides to create new and fanciful and funny nicknames for everybody on top of all the other ones that they already have. Because they're trying to be creative and, put personality into their fics. Oh, how dare they. Which is fine, I suppose, in theory, but in practice, I don't know who Diamondy Boy is. Who is that? Ooh, I'm just gonna call you Sunflower. I'm like, which one is Sunflower? Does that mean blonde, or is that just a personality trait? I don't know. I will never know. It's kind of up to how much does this author want to make you suffer specifically?
Oh, and then you'll read a fic where they just refer to them by their number, and you're like, what do you mean their number? They're like their class number in the seating chart. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Problem number 6. Localization, once again, making these names incredibly hard to sort through in a book format when you're reading with your eyeballs. Not only do we go into any story not knowing whether the author is going to choose to write surname, given name, or given name, surname, but we also do not know the conventions that they're going to use to translate honorifics. Kun, san, chan, sensei, senpai, shonen, the Mr. Mrs. Doctor of Japanese language. A lot of authors just want to go full weeb and they want to use san, kun, and chan for everything, and that's fine in theory, but in execution they can run into some pitfalls, and that's fine most of the time. But if an author doesn't know how to write a scene a little bit more expertly, it can get very confusing. Say, in a scenario which the Yaoyorozu family is being introduced to a new individual for the first time. Because the author has chosen to use Japanese honorifics, it would be very strange for this new individual getting introduced to the Yaoyorozu family to refer to everybody by their first names. But in that case, if we're going with Japanese kind of conventions, then you would refer to everybody as Yaoyorozu-san, because that's polite and good. But if you do that, then we as the readers have no idea if Yaoyorozu-san refers to child Yaoyorozu, Mama Yaoyorozu, or Papa Yaoyorozu. And if they don't write descriptions or indicate who they're talking to, we're gonna have no idea who's speaking. And that drives me crazy. Yaoyorozu-san can refer to 3 separate individuals. Don't even get started on Todoroki-san. That's like 6 of them. And like the opposite is true, because generally we know Explodey Boy character as Bakugo, which is his family name, which is his surname, So if we're being introduced to his parents, suddenly everybody is Bakugo. And then often fanfics will do this weird thing where they're like, oh, you can just call me Mitsuki, which you wouldn't do if you're sticking by Japanese naming conventions of going by the last name. The parent wouldn't just introduce themselves by their first name of Mitsuki, even though that is the solution to the problem, but we're kind of stuck here because we know the character as Bakugo, so we kind of are forced into using some of these naming conventions just by the nature of how the show relates to names, you know? The names became such a challenge for myself that I decided to turn memorizing every single character's name into a hot wing challenge, and I forced my brother to watch me struggle as I tried to remember 100+ characters' names of My Hero Academia, and if I failed, I ate a hot wing. The hot wing My Hero Academia name challenge now exists, and that is a separate thing from this, because what I thought might have turned into a 10-minute segment ended up being over an hour. I'm not entirely sure why I thought otherwise. This video has taken me 3 years. So is Ground Zero not the canonical hero name for Bakugo? I totally thought that Ground Zero was his canonical hero name. I was mistaken. Everyone agreed that it was Ground Zero. But no, it is not. And I did not know that. Ground Zero is not canonical hero name for Bakugo. That's just fanfiction, and it completely fooled me into believing that it was. So, now when I hear the words Ground Zero, I don't think of any sort of tragedies or whatever. I think of Kachan Explosion Murder Boy. Thank you, Fandom. In conclusion, there's like 100 characters. They each have 6 names. You have to know them all. Sometimes you have to memorize their eye color. Sometimes you have to memorize their class number, because sometimes a fic will refer to them solely by their class number, and sometimes they just make up new nicknames for the characters, and you gotta know all of them for every character, and half of the names sound exactly like each other, but just one letter difference, and sometimes the author will make a typo and write a different letter, like they could say Shoto instead of Shota. Those are 2 completely different characters, and they just messed up, and now I'm confused. And sometimes they just refer to everybody by the same name. Everyone's a Todoroki today. Nobody is Enji, and nobody is Natsuo. They're just Todorokis. And you have to know their eye colors. It's important. But nobody knows Dabi's hair color. It's very debated. I'm confused. So the names are hard to memorize. That's the hardest part about reading fanfiction in this fandom, is figuring out who the heck they're talking about.
Okay, it's time for school. Shut up. Data, I cannot believe that I have Aizawa's hair. Just more brown. Data analysis. Off the bat, all my math is wrong. Everything I do and or say is wrong. I try to do math and it goes wrong. Not a science teacher. Math, not a math teacher. I'm not doing any more math. I did enough math for the intro thing. I mean, it's already wrong because I already read like 300,000 more words. Like 2 weeks. 183,123 on Archive of Our Own, AO3. I didn't realize how big My Hero Academia was specifically on Archive of Our Own. It's one of, like, the top fandoms. I guess it's kind of a combination of, like, peaking at the right time that this site is also peaking, whereas, like, you know, some other very active and very big fan fictions might have had their start back in the day at fanfic.net or something. I don't know. I've never seen that. Again, I have not done this before last year. This is new to me. I don't know what's happening. After doing math, there are 200 new fanfictions every single day just on Archive of Our Own. I don't know what else is out there. I know Wattpad's a thing, but I don't know if that's just mostly porn. I'm sure most of this is porn and we can just flush it, you know? We can just flush that. I feel like my beard's falling off. Oh no! Okay. 1,400 new fanfictions every single week. I have read about 400 as of now, and that's taken a year and a half. 6,000 every new month. 72,800 fanfictions every year.
2 years later, we're sitting at 288,877 works in My Hero Academia Fandom, which means that the rate of growth has significantly slowed down over the last 2 years. However, there still are 100,000 more fics in the My Hero Academia Fandom on archive of our own than there were 2 years ago. It would seem that the rate of growth from 2020 to mid-2021 was about 2 times faster than the rate of growth has been from mid-2021 to mid-2023.
After doing almost nothing but read My Hero Academia fanfictions for a year and a half, I've read 400 of 183,123. Now, I'm not trying to get to this. Nobody can. Nobody ever could. You can't, you die. But that's okay. Most of it is probably, like, porn. I guess we'll do math now, but my camera is my phone. Does that mean I have to do long division? I haven't done long division in years. I haven't done math, like real math, since I did calculus as a junior, which was a terrible decision because I never did math again because I'm not a math person. What? 400, is this right? Yeah, this is right. Jeez, I can't remember how this is. We're gonna up this to about 190,000. It's more than that now. I think this is a thing you can do, where I'm just gonna get rid of the zeros because they're excessive and stupid. So let's do 4 divided by how's nad 4. This is fun. Wow. 0, 0, 30, wait. I forgot how to do this. Because it can't go into 3, so you drop this and then it's 0. 7. I really don't know what I'm doing. Oh no! I'm trying to get a percentage. This isn't coming out as a percentage. So it'll have to be the other way around, right? Because this, yeah. This is wrong. Because then we gotta go 400. Yeah, okay. I took AP Calculus and I got an A. When I was 16, I did that. I can't do long division. Oh my gosh. I'm a heroics teacher. I don't do math. Talk to ectoplasm. Kids trying to make me do freaking math.
I'm not doing any more math.
I totally did that wrong. That's so embarrassing. Oh, gee. There's no way I can do this. There's no way I can do this. I'm gonna have to find a calculator. I'm not gonna give up yet. Jeez. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, ignore this. 0.002. I think I've read 0.002% of My Hero Academia fanfiction on AO3, and I've read nothing but these for a year and a half. 0.2%. Not 0.2. 0.002. Wait, no, that's a... Wait. No. So is that, do I have to times this by something? Like 100? Is that 2%? No, because like that's 20%, and this is 2%. Maybe that's 0.2%. I used to know what sine and cosine were. No! I know I have a calculator that's not on my phone. 0.2. What? Why is that 0.2? Why did I put that there? Yeah, what's happening here? Why did I put that all the way over there? 0.2? Why did I put it over here? Does that make it 2%? Oh, no. 400 divided by 190,000. Yeah, 0.002. Okay. So I can do long division. I can. I'm not going crazy. I was right. I have read 0.2% of all of the available My Hero Academia fanfictions on Archive of Our Own. Approximately. This is increasing far greater than I will ever read, so this number will just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. I haven't read anything, basically. I don't know, because I haven't read anything. How would I know anything? I haven't read anything! Everything I say in this could be wrong, because I haven't even read anything! I've read 0.2% of this nonsense! Of your nonsense! 0.2% of it! And it's already driven me this mad! Throughout all these fics, and like considering we can reach the moon with a stack of all the characters that are actually in this franchise, to calculate how often those characters actually appear in fics. Not like this, like calculator math. Real math, not long division math. Oh, I just had a flashback. Oh, that thing! Oh, with the little, that thing was there was another one, and there was like this, and then there's logs, and then the sine, cosine, tan, it was so painful. I decided to calculate each character's number of memorable appearances. Memorable appearances in a fic meaning like several months later, if I went through and like read a description, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that, and this character did this in it. Ashido is just always in these things because she's part of the Baku squad. So Ashido will appear in a lot of fics. Do we remember anything she does in them, or is she just casually mentioned? If she does something memorable and kind of plot relevant, I count that as a memorable appearance. Meaning, do they do something cool in the story that I remember several months after reading it? So, like, even if Sansa Tamakawa, the cat cop, is physically present at every police investigation that there ever is in any of these fanfictions, has he ever done anything? No, he's the cat head, and I know that his name is Sansa Tamakawa. I know this! I went to a convention, and a guy in a booth was like, oh, my hero, I really don't know much, but like my favorite character is the guy with the cat head. And I'm like, yeah, Sansa Tamakawa. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I gotta go. Oh, I know so many names. So even if Sansa Tamakawa, the cat cop, has appeared in almost every fic, like, do we remember him? No, like, he's no more memorable than he was in the actual show. Wrong! All of my calculations are wrong and inaccurate. What? I'm telling you this now. You're still getting mad at me. Why?
Here's what I've decided to do. I could go through all of this and like, say names the way they say them in Japanese, aka Hado Nejire, Tamakawa Sansa, Bakugo, Katsuki, Miruko, and so forth. I'm not gonna do that. I'm mostly familiar with these names in writing, and on top of that, they're in English. So what we're gonna do, given name, surname, and I'm gonna butcher the names the way that my brain reads it in fanfiction. For so long, I was reading Mr. Compress as Mr. Compress. So if I mess up, you can hate me. I give you permission. And I'm sorry. I could do this better and I could do it right, but I'm choosing not to. I'm not gonna stop everything and say Shinso Hitoshi. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say Shinso. That's kind of how I'm going to say the names. Let's start this terrible, everything I say is absolutely incorrect data analysis according to memorable appearances in fanfiction. 0%. No memorable appearances. Sansa Tamakawa, Cat Cop, Lunch Rush, Cafeteria Hero, Headshot, Is a Pro, Manual, Lame Pro with Runaway Ida Intern, Ms. Joke, Ketsubutsu Pro Wants to Marry a Racerhead, Gentle Criminal, Flamboyant Filler Arc, Mimic, the guy who does the wall thing in the Overhaul Arc, Chronostasis, the Slow-Mo guy in the Overhaul Arc, Mustard, Training Camp Junior High Gas Guy, Moonfish, Training Camp Bucktooth the Cannibal, Nejide Hado, third-year student the female one, Kamui Woods, Is Wood Hero, Mount Lady, Big Step Pro Hero, Gran Torino, Old Fart Hero, 13, Spacesuit at USJ, Recovery Girl, Nurse Stretchy Lips and Reprimands, Girin, Networking, The Villain, Magna, canonically problematic but fandom progressive villain, Sato, 1A Bakey, Kendo, 1B Big Hand Slaps the Pest, and I guess you can throw like Redestro, Destro, Geten in here. I don't know who these people are, but I know that there is a Destro and a Redestro somewhere in there, so 0 memorable appearances. 0.4%, 1 memorable appearance. Tsubasa, that one kid with the wings in that one scene in the anime who apparently gets murdered and genetically mutated. It's a lot, Grandpa. Melissa Shield. Philorock Fluff. Quirk Listen. No, wait, who is this? Is she even in the show? Who is? I don't understand. Who is Melissa Centipeter. Shield? Sir Night-Eye's Bug Problem. Bubba Girl. Sir Night-Eye's Fan Service. View Q. Dragon Hero. That's literally all I know about her. La Brava. Way too tiny Philorock villain. Seriously. What? Like, she's so short. Gigantomachia. Big Bad. Dr. Kyudai Garaki / Daruma Ujiko / Dr. Tsubasa. The doctor guy. Mr. Way Too Many Names Mad Scientist. Are these even the same people? I don't know. They might be different people. Honenuki. 1B Skeleton Lips. Kota Izumi. Annoying training camp child. Fat Gum. A lovely hero for interns with self-esteem problems. Mandalay. Training camp cat hero who talks to your brain. Pixie Bob. Training camp cat hero who plays with rocks. Masaru Bakugo. Shy Bakudad. Spinner. Villain Iguana Stain the Stanzilla. Mr. Compress. Not Compress. Mr. Compress. Manners the Magic Marbles villain. Twice.
Double Dare Teddy Bear bad guy.
Nana Shimura. All Might's tragic backstory. Mama done died. Cementos.
Gumby UA Pro.
Power Loader. UA support course teacher needs a pay raise. Stain. Does rhetoric poorly and then stabs children. Sludge villain. A medium-sized skin suit. Shiozaki. 1B Shrubs and Piety. Tetsu. 1B Silver Kirishima. Coda. 1A Socially Anxious Squirrel. 0.8%. 2 memorable appearances. David Shield. No, seriously. Who are these Shield people? Are they even in the show? Are they even in the show? Who are these Shield people? Yoshindo. Ketsubutsu Earthquake Boy. Class 1B as a collective. Kendo, Monoma, Tetsu, Shiozaki, and Honenuki not included. An undefined collective who act as a unit with one mind. Eri. Trauma Child, Deus Ex Machina. Snipe. Teacher got a gun! Ectoplasm. Teacher keeps spitting out more twins. Slad King. Frowny teacher who likes to play with his blood. Ingenium. Big Bo. Itago. Ragdoll. Training camp cat who's a ragdoll. Get it? She's as useless as a ragdoll because she gets her quirk stolen. Get it? Humor! Tiger. Training camp Tomcat.
The name's Tiger, and I'm here to beat you guys to a pulp. I have questions about him.
Mirko.
Hox's best bunny.
Sarah. 1A discount Kaminari with tape elbows. Nomu. Overhaul. Bad Touch Bird Mask. Ojiro. 1A normie but with a tail. Shoji. 1A normie but wait, oh god, not a normie! Hagakure. 1A personality as thin as her skin. Tamaki Amajiki. Shy UA 3rd year needs a hug and why is he not in more Fics? I love him! Inasa Yorashi. Shiketsu guy who likes to yell at Todoroki real loud. Kami Utsushimi. Shiketsu Natoga who talks too much. Shut up, no one thinks you're cool. 1%. 3 memorable appearances. Muscular. Big muscle child murdery villain. Toga. Bad touch hair bun villain. 2%. 4 to 6 memorable appearances. Mineta. No. Ashido. The pink one. Aoyama. Sparkle stocking and cheese platters. Jiro. Punk rock eavesdrop. Gang Orca. Pro Porpoise. Mirio Togata. UA 30-year student necessitating content warning for nudity. Tokoyami. Your sleep paralysis demon. Asui. My sleep paralysis demon. Monoma. 1B yells at 1A with pomp and circumstance. Mitsuki Bakugo. Loud Bakumom. Hound dog. Should he be a school counselor? Sir Night-Eye. Pro arrogance in future tense. Midnight. Teaches most vital hero course curriculum. Hatsume. Always be nice to the crazy ones. Stay on our good side. Best genist. Better Denamite. Tsukauchi. The only police officer in all of Japan. Kurigiri. Villain bartender Mr. Misty Shifty. Mr. Misty Shifty. Shigaraki. Bad touch the man-child villain. All for one. Specifically not Hisashi Midoriya. Overpowered no-face baddie who is definitely not Broccoli father. Inko Midoriya. Broccoli mother. 3%. 7 to 8 memorable appearances. Yao Yorozu. Respect the woman. She can form a gun out of her fat cells at any moment. It's always the quiet ones. Be nice to Yao Momo. Rei Todoroki. Todoroki's tragic backstory in minor key. Fuyumi Todoroki. The female Todoroki offspring. 4%. 10 to 11 memorable appearances. Ida. Trypophobia calves. Endeavor. Todoroki's tragic backstory in major key. Hawks. Perpetually stressed chicken nugget pro. Dabi. Todoroki's tragic backstory. The 3rd act twist. Natsuo Todoroki. The other one. Principal Nedzu. Plotting to overthrow humanity. You know it's true. Don't try to deny it. 5%. 13 to 14 memorable appearances. Uraraka. Floaty McPukes-a-lot. Hisashi Midoriya. The not actually a character who is always a character. And here we must digress.
Hisashi Midoriya. Midoriya Hisashi? I'm gonna say Hisashi. You're gonna have to deal with that pronunciation. He's not actually a character. He is, like... We know that this is his name canonically in the manga. He's not a character, but he is, because he's in a lot of fics. Because he's Midoriya's absentee father, therefore trauma. Midoriya dad. Deku dad. Doria. He can be good dad. He can be bad dad. Or he can kind of be an morally ambiguous dad. We love
the theory that All for One is actually Midoriya's papa, which there is precedent for. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot that could lead to this being a real thing. And there's also All for One as a character who is specifically not Hisashi Midoriya, but he shows up more often as Hisashi Midoriya than as just All for One, his own character. Hisashi Midoriya as All for One can be a good dad as Hisashi Midoriya. Like, he's like, oh, I will relinquish villainy and just be a good dad, and that's kind of fun. Or Hisashi Midoriya is All for One but is a bad dad, because obviously he's a mass murderer. Or Hisashi Midoriya is All for One, but that's kind of an ambiguous situation. He's a villain, but does that make him a bad father? Not necessarily. Or Hisashi Midoriya, that is specifically not All for One, can be good, yeah, that can be bad dad. Could just be kind of one of those, like, he's kind of just a dude. 23% of the time, Midoriya's got a good dad. Not too bad. Sometimes we just want Midoriya to have a good dad. But of course, we like our trauma, so he's just a bad dad 61% of the time. 15% of the time, he's kind of okay, but he's got his problems. Or he's got his problems, but he's kind of okay. When All for One turns out to be Deku's dad. I found one fic where he was good, 8%. When All for One is Deku's dad, 2 memorable appearances, so that's like, 15% of these. He's ambiguous, like 15%. So All for One as a dad, it's not the best. All for One. Bah. But when Hisashi Midoriya is just a dude, oh, look at me, I have hair and I'm a guy. Potato. Normal Hisashi is a good dad, just like, he showed up as like 2 times. He was just, Hisashi Midoriya was just a nice dad. The most common here, where 46% of the time, he's just a guy and is just kind of a jerk. So most of the time, Hisashi Midoriya is just a jerk normal dude. And then it's kind of an even split, because over here we didn't get really any ambiguous normal dude kind of situations. It's kind of hard to just be an ambiguous normal dude. Like, ambiguous supervillain but good dad, like, that makes sense. But ambiguous, if you're kind of like not a good dad or not a good person and you're just kind of a dude, then you're bad. 61% of the time he is bad, and 61% of the time he's just a dude. 38% of the time, that dude is actually a supervillain. Most of the time, Hisashi Midoriya is just a bad, normal dad. He left. Normally, he's milk dad. And then sometimes he's good dad, who's also just a guy. Sometimes he's like a good dad, but still supervillain. Sometimes he's just a bad dad and a bad supervillain. And sometimes he's just like decided, I love my son and I'm a supervillain, but I don't want to be a supervillain anymore, and I'm just going to raise my son. Hisashi Midoriya. He's not in the show. This isn't a character. This guy doesn't exist. And I had to make a chart about him.
6%. 15 to 17 memorable appearances. Present Mike / Yamada. Presentation Michael likes to yell! Kaminari. Electrocution is the best kind of comic relief, right? 8%. 20-ish memorable appearances. Kirishima, the sunshine rock we all wished we brought home as a souvenir. All Might, Every Power or Skinny Triangle Band depending on the weather. 16%. 42-ish memorable appearances. Shinso, not Eraserhead, Secret Love Child Todoroki, we swear. 21%. 55-ish plus memorable appearances. Eraserhead / Aizawa. Todoroki, don't you dare! Angry Caterpillar, do not boop. 24%. 65-ish plus memorable appearances. Todoroki. Conspiracy homeschooler. Now comes with tragic backstories. 36%. 95-ish plus memorable appearances. Bakugo. Screams in pubescent angst. 64%. 170-ish plus memorable appearances. Midoriya. Broccoli of my heart.
Out of the top 20 most memorable, most often characters, only 4 are ladies. And Uraraka, who is the most popular, she only shows up at number 10, but I mean, come on, let's be honest. Hawks and Dobby easily should be ahead of her. I don't know how I got that calculation. I hadn't read enough Hawks fics. I don't know. So really, she's at number 12. So out of the top 20 characters, only 4 are females, and the top female, it comes in at number 12.
Come on, Uraraka, she can float anything! She is Magneto, but with anything!
She's pretty cool! Woo! I'm Aizawa. At least Fandom Aizawa. Canon, he tried to, like, fight a cat. That was weird. Why are you struggling? Why are you struggling? Ah! It's okay. No, my friend. You're gonna be okay. They're not, these cats are not, like, holding cats, you know? They don't want to be held. They want you to sit so they can sit on you. But they don't want to be, like, see, she wants down. Say hello. Make me seem more like Aizawa. Cat. So what if the women don't come with, like, you know, pre-made tragic backstories? Make one up! All you have to do is make them angsty, and then they're fun to write. I mean, Uraraka's poor. What if she's actually homeless? Oh, my beard. I just wiped off my beard. I'm so greasy. I mean, Yao Yorozu, she's like a rich kid. You know, does she know how to socialize? She's been in a mansion all her life. She's gonna be awkward. How did they get their money? Do they run the mob? She should not understand how laws work. Ashido can face mutant discrimination. What if Jiro is from the bad side of Present Mike's family? What if he's her uncle? Asui is a blunt frog. Let us explore. They are carnivores. Frogs are horrific carnivores. They will just eat anything. They will just eat anything. Shove it in the mouth. Like, we actually know that she does secrete a toxic substance from her skin. What if she killed the man? Does she actually have to eject her stomach to clean it? I want to know more about that. That is canon. That's so cool and gross. I love it when women get to be gross. I love these ladies. They have such cool powers and they got really good personalities. I want to read stories about them. In terms of protagonists of these fics, only about 14 out of the 84-ish characters you really need to know, only about 14 of those have actually appeared as memorable protagonists in fics. Meaning only 16% of characters ever get to be protagonists. Again, everything I say is wrong. Oh yeah, and that's rounded way up, because if you're counting like the full 120 plus characters, then that number goes down. So it's more like less than 12% of those characters actually are ever protagonists in fanfiction, which is kind of wild. Or like, only 7 out of the 20 in class 1A really have been protagonists in fics I've read. Yes, my math is wrong. This comes to 109.52%. I am lazy, so I counted some of these fics twice, so when Midoriya and Bakugo decided to kind of co-star in a role. Extra 9%-ish is the two of them sharing the spotlight. That's my rounding error. Around 40% of the time when Bakugo is a protagonist, he is sharing that protagonist role with Midoriya. So 40% of Bakugo's protagony is also Midoriya's protagony. So he only has like 60% individual protagony. Conversely, Midoriya only shares that protagony role 17% of the time. So 40% Bakugo is not on his own, and only 17% Midoriya is not on his own. So obviously we're still favoring Midoriya as the main character most of the time. And he has the most solo fics, obviously. I'll just write this. Jeez Louise. Top of the chart, of course, Midoriya. In 53% of all the fanfics that I've read, Midoriya is the protagonist. So that's 140 plus. Again, this is a low estimate. This is back when this was half of the fics. That is no longer the accurate number. None of these numbers are accurate anymore. No, this is wrong, because I've read so many more Hawks fics now. He should be number 6 or 5. Did I make a note of that? Oh, I did. Cool. Yeah, we're not doing this again, though. Bakugo comes in second. Number 2 hero. 23% of all the fanfics I've read, 23% of the time, Bakugo is the protagonist, so that's about 62. Number 3, we got Todoroki. I think I have an actual chart for this somewhere. Oh yeah, Todoroki, third best boy apparently. He's a protagonist in 6% of the fics, so there's been about 17 plus of Todoroki. 4th, Zawa, Eraserhead there, in about 6%. You know, now that I've kind of got a feel for this, he might be ahead of Todoroki. There's a lot of Dad Zawa fics out there. So yeah, 6%. You know, Todoroki, Aizawa, they're kind of hovering about that same number there. Shinso, coming in at number 5. And we love him! We all love Shinso. He needs to be more in the show. At the time this was true. But this is not an accurate reflection of the actual fics. Because then we got Kaminari in here, who's a protagonist 3% of the time. which we found about 7 fics. Present Mike, 1% of the time, it's 3. There were 3. So apparently at this point when I had made these calculations, I'd only read 3 Dobby-centric fics and 3 Hawks fics. That's completely not an accurate. The Hot Wings boys, we gotta put these, Hawks, definitely, I think, more than Dobby, just because he has that kind of like, you know, double agent thing going for him. So then we're probably Shinso, Hawks, Dobby, then Kaminari, Present Mike. So I've read 2 where Yao Yorozu was a protagonist.
There's a lady, ooh.
So she got on there at number 10, apparently. 11, Best Genist, 0.8%, 2 protagonists. Nobody writes Best Genist except for like 1 person, but they're great. So I think of him as like having more fics, but they were just long fics and they were really good Genist fics. Okay, well you can't read this because I have a chart. Yeah, I think I have a chart. Oh. So All for One as Hisashi Midoriya. So if All for One is Deku's dad, then he is the 12th most popular protagonist in My Hero Academia fanfics. Kirishima, I've only read 2 fics where he's been the protagonist, which is wild because we all love Kirishima, but I guess we just don't write stories about him. And then I read 1 where Endeavor was a protagonist, which was the only one that they've really tried to, redeem Endeavor too. I'm trying to think if I've read any now who have really been memorable protagonists of someone different, but I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think so. There might have been the one like Sero running a peanut cartel. So half the time, you're gonna have Midoriya. The next, a fourth of all the fics are gonna be about Bakugo. Everybody else is really fighting for that last 25% of fanfic protagony. It's come to my attention that my camera is horrible. Oh, it can't focus at all. It's really bad. I'm so sorry. You get the idea. It's time to sleep. Itchy nose. Not all of these fics are good. We're gonna go back to our low estimate. Out of the 268 total fics, 7% of those bomb. Love it. 18 fics out of 268 that were just golden, worth every second, and worth the entire experience to find. 33% were good, and I'm glad to have read them. These are amateur writers, these are first drafts. Maybe there's some bad choices, maybe it's just not super interesting, but cool enough that I thought they were very good. That was 89 fics. 60% of the fics that I actually read. I'm not gonna say anything is bad, but not for me. 161 fics were That seems like an extraordinary amount of like good to bad fics, but it's kind of the same with movies. 40% of the fics that I read were good and worth my time. 60% were not. And that's actually better than the movie ratio that I've watched this year.
We watched so many movies. So much popcorn. None of you eat as much popcorn as we do.
I think I'm like one of the humans in the world who eats the most popcorn.
So Kirishima's like one of my favorite. It's impossible to talk with these things in my mouth. Oh boy! This took way too long to put on. This was not worth it. Now, for the part you've all been waiting for. The shipping flowcharts. Oh, it's so much better with a lisp, actually. Because I'm just like a little gremlin talking about how I've cracked the code of the shipping flowcharts. I have no upper palate. Welcome. I like making lists and charts, apparently. Shipping flowcharts. Canonically, I don't care about shipping. That's a me thing. I legitimately find romance devoid of all interest. I'm spitting now. I want a good story. I want fun characters. I want fun, cool things to watch. And romance is never that. Keep in mind that I don't read romance fics because I find them eye-bleedingly boring and like nauseating. But that's a me thing. These are all pairings that have happened in like action and adventure fics or like found family fics or just like an angst or like an eldritch horror fic, you know, things that just pop up alongside a story as opposed to being the entire story. Because when it's the entire story, I feel like there's not a story because you've already told us what the story will be. People will get mad at each other and then they'll say they're in love and then I will be confused about it. I like friendship romances, I guess, in my media. So in terms of canon, I really like that Deku and Uraraka just have a mutual kind of crush going on. I'm like, cool, they legitimately like each other and are friends and they're not letting weird romance get in the way of that friendship. Cool, love it. I have no love for the unrequited love crush thing or the angsty romance stuff. Like, that is not my jam. If it's your jam, cool. That's why we have so many flavors. You know, boysenberry, grape. This is a for fun section. I don't care. Now, in fanfiction, y'all have some crazy pairings going on. Go wild with your Endhawks garbage. Just keep it away from my eye holes. You can go wild with that Endhawks garbage, that trash, that absolute abomination of a ship. I don't want my eye holes to see it. It's not okay. Endhawks is never okay. I just noticed that my cat threw up on my dresser. Can I drink with my teeth? That's odd. It like runs through my sharp, jagged teeth. It's like a river running through stalagmites in my mouth. I feel like an undiscovered crystal cavern. I feel like the earth. All of this like My Hero Academia fandom pairing. These characters are so far removed from anybody or anything in reality. It's fine. Go wild with it. It's fun. Let the authors tell the story they want to write and don't push your own, interpretations onto their stories. Let people tell their stories. You tell yours. Be respectful. Boundaries, all that. You get it. You've heard the spiel 1,000 times. All that being said, I've cracked the code after months and months of grueling labor and research and almost 2 years, maybe more than 2 years of total and complete social isolation. I have cracked the code and I have figured out the shipping flowcharts for the My Hero Academia fandom. They follow a very specific set pattern and I have figured it out and I'm here to present it to you today. It follows a very set pattern and very set series of rules. They have to be pretty and they have to be gay are really the only two rules. Out of like the 100 characters that there are in the show, there are only 8 that are really up for legitimate shipping. In terms of legitimate, like, shuffling around. There are some ships that are just set in stone, but there are 8 characters who tend to sway back and forth, between the various romances, you might say. In our shipping pool for who is variable, we basically see these 8 characters. Midoriya, Yaoyorozu, Bakugo, Shinso, Kirishima, Jiro, Todoroki, and Kaminari. And then we have like our backups in case of emergency, which are Uraraka, Ida, Asui, and Ashido. A couple characters from 1A are just complete non-contenders because we just do not care. Aoyama, Ojiro, Koda, Sato, Shoji, Sero, Tokoyami, Hagakure, and Mineta. Nobody cares. And no, Mineta is never allowed to love. Anyhow, on to the flowcharts. That's one pairing right there. Underlying all of the possible shipping patterns and scientific principles are 2 key rules. Rule number 1, the Sunshine Boys rule. All is contingent upon wanting good things for Midoriya and Kirishima. As long as we have good things for Midoriya and Kirishima, everything else pretty much falls in place around the pairings of the Sunshine Boys. They are kind rays of sunshine and deserve love. Rule number 2, Midoriya is not allowed to hoard all the pretty boys. The 2 most popular ships of the fandom fundamentally oppose each other, and if we're not going poly, we're not gonna fix it. Therefore, you gotta have the rule that if Midoriya's got one pretty boy, she can't have the other. Most of the pairings that you see, 80% are probably going to be pretty monogamous, so these shipping flowcharts reflect that. Does Midoriya want hot and soggy conspiracy gremlin or biohazardous body moisture boy? You can't hoard all the pretty boys, Midoriya. Following these 2 rules, Sunshine Boys and you can't hoard all the pretty boys, we get practically only 3 different shipping scenarios. That is shipping. Why do I have a lisp on this section when I have to say shipping so much? 3 major shipping scenarios. There are 3 universes, as you will, of love. Shipping universe number 1. We only care about Bakudeku. Banish the extras to the winds of chance. If Bakudeku, then Kirikami. This is an if-then. It is always so. Therefore, Todomomo. Lonely Shinso. Lonely Jiro. Shipping universe number 2. The straights aren't real. Or the one where they have actual healthy relationships. I'm kind of like tearing my gum a little bit. They're digging into my flesh. It hurts. I'm biting myself every time I speak. If Tododeku, then Kiribaku, then Shinkami, then Momojiro. Shipping universe number 3. Super stands for Shinso Anonymous. She must ascend to the protagony. You just really like Shinso, and you need him to be with Midoriya. If Shindeku, then Kiribaku, then either Todomomo or Momojiro, depending on the weather. That's basically flipping a coin whether your love for Todoroki outweighs your love for seeing healthy lesbian relationships or vice versa. I don't know, man. Lonely Kaminari, but still happy Kaminari. Universe number 1. You like the shared history, overcoming angst of Bakudeku, fighting in a fun way. And then you got Kirikami, just the dorks being dorks together. Todomomo, because Todoroki needs love. Jiro's probably still a lesbian, but it doesn't really matter because we need Todoroki to not be lonely. So he's with Momo. Basically, we only care about Bakudeku. And then everybody else can just kind of find their own pairings. 2, straights aren't real. That's Tododeku, everybody's gay. Tododeku, that's a very healthy relationship. And they always seem very happy. But I don't think I've read a single interesting story with that ship. It's not interesting to read. So there is something to say about, like, romance having conflict. Baka goes, wow, I used to bully you. And Midoriya's, hey, you've got a lot of problems, but I don't want to give up on you. Those make much more interesting stories, but you can still fall into the problem of, like, these characters seem like they hate each other and that's no fun. And if Tododeku, then Kiribaku, which is, like, the one relationship that actually makes sense. Like, in canon, like, you could see that one coming. You know, it's not gonna happen. They're not cool enough to do that, but, like, you know. It's the one that you can be like, yeah, no, these two really work well off each other. And therefore Momojiro. So that's when they get to be happy and gay. Then Shinkami, which only exists, like, in fandom. I think they speak together once in season 5, which is cool. That ship really works off of... You have the emo and the hyperactive blonde, which this fandom really seems to like a lot, a la Yamazawa family dynamic, a la Shinkami, a la Hot Wings. There's hyperactive blonde loves emo is very popular in this fandom. There's at least 3. And sometimes you get, like, All Might and, like, Night Eye is the emo one, too. It's like... It's the only dynamic that gives, like, y'all life, and it's kind of hilarious. 3, Shinso. We want Shinso with Midoriya. Everybody else, find your usual pairings. Find who's left over. And if Shindeku, you just love Shinso, and I don't blame you, because Shinso's amazing. So therefore, he has to be with Midoriya. You only care about Shinso. Everybody else just falls in place around them. In all scenarios, there are some staples that you cannot deny. There is no if-then. There is only always. And there is always Hot Wings. And there is always Eraser Mike. And Hawks does not exist. It never existed. And you can't find it anywhere. Don't look for it. Don't do that. Don't bring your kinks into this. I don't want them. I refuse to acknowledge your pornography. Pretty much there's really no contesting these pairings. They're always going to be together outside of situations where they're just not interested. They might be aromantic or asexual or otherwise. If they're going to be shipped, it's gonna be Hot Wings and it's gonna be Eraser Mike. You know, it's just gonna happen. Again, this is what's encountered in plot-based fics and not purely romance fics. Please keep in mind that everything I say is absolutely wrong. Yes, I am wrong about everything. And yes, you have read a fic that contradicts me, and yes, your opinions are right. I am wrong. I apologize. Remember that, please. On occasion, you'll get like a Tsuchako or an Ida Ocha, depending on the weather, because we all know that everybody writing fics is not taking Kachako, like, seriously. It was, like, listed as one of the most popular ships, but I have never once encountered a Kachako pairing. Like, not once. I have read so many fics for, like, 2 years, and no, nobody is shipping Uraraka and Bakugo. Not outside of porn or something. I don't know, man. It's not a thing. It just ain't a thing. I refuse to acknowledge your pornography. I refuse. Again, don't know what y'all are doing in the romance section of AO3. I just don't know. I don't care. But I haven't seen any Kachako in the action and adventure section, so... And if a pairing doesn't survive into the action and adventure side of fanfiction, it doesn't really count at all, or you just think they're cute, don't you? You just think they're cute. You're not taking them seriously. Nobody's taking Kachako seriously. It's either Tsuchako or Ida Ocha. Even then, I don't love either of those two. I just don't like Ida very much. Not that I hate him at all. I'm completely, like, neutral. I'm like, oh yeah, you're a character. Asui, I really like her as just being herself. But then you can't have Uraraka being with Midoriya because that's canon and therefore boring. We really just do want good things for Uraraka, but since we have denied her Midoriya, we have to give her someone, and that someone therefore might be Ida, but also it might be Asui, but if the tides so choose, why not marry somebody? Oh, I hate that sentence. Oh, I hate that sentence so much. I have encountered two, like, rather rare pairings that I feel worth mentioning. There is a situation in which Ashido/Monoma is a thing, but only if Ashido maims Monoma for life on their first meeting. It's come to my attention that there are also a handful of Shigaraki/Natsuo Todoroki fics, and I'm not judging, I'm just very confused. And I have encountered a Midoriya/Asui pairing, but only if Midoriya is permanently turned into a jaguar. There's also a couple of interesting things with, like, fandom friend groups in Class 1A that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the friend groups that we've made up for these people. So we also have friend groups that we've kind of created in the fandom, and these aren't always reflective of canon. They're often inspired by canon, added to or tweaked as per our, desires. Group number 1. First of all, we have the infamous Baku Squad. The one that really confused me initially, because I'm just like, who are these people? Who are any of these people? The first time any of these people were mentioned, I had no idea who Sarah was. I had no idea who Ashido was. I was like, oh, Kaminari was the lightning guy? Okay, and then Kirishima, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, Kirishima. Yeah, no, I remember him. I did not know that this grouping went together off of watching the first 3 seasons of My Hero Academia. They're not all associated with Bakugo, per se. Like, Seru and Ashido, they seem to be with Kaminari and Kirishima shenanigans and being part of, like, the dumb squad, but I don't recall many interactions of them with Bakugo, which was, I think, my main kind of confusion. They're great in fanfiction, and I absolutely love them. The Baku squad is consisted, of course, of Bakugo, Kirishima, Kaminari, Ashido, and Seru. On occasion, you can get Jiro thrown in there. She did a little rock and roll with Bakugo at the end of season 5, at the end of season 4, so they can be friends now. I like to call Jiro the kind of honorary member of the Baku squad, or like that special rare Baku squad member you'll get as like a surprise in your cereal box or something. Group number 2. Next up, we have the Deku squad, or the nerd squad. This one is very understandable based on canon. The nice kids who are friends in canon. Midoriya, Todoroki, Uraraka, and Ida. If Shinso's included in your fic, he'll be in there. Asui can come in sometimes, and on rare occasions, you can get that extra special Mei figurine in the bottom of your cereal box being like, and special Deku squad member, Hatsume Mei, and you're like, yeah, I got Hatsume, and you're super excited. And you show all your friends on the playground, and they're like, whoa, and then they bet you in like a game of marbles, and then you lose it to them in the game of marbles, and then you realize it could have been sold for like $5,000 10 years later, but you lost it to a game of marbles on the playground. Your Hatsume Mei rare collectible. Group number 3, women. They're friends because they're female. They converge for friendship. Which makes sense since they're, like,
6 of them, and they're drastically outnumbered. So, Yaoyorozu, Jiro, Asui, Uraraka, Hagakure, and Ashido. Group number 4, the extras, the leftover squad. We don't know what to do with these guys, so I guess they must be friends? Like, they don't interact with the rest of them, so maybe they're interacting with each other? We don't know. We don't care. They're leftovers. Tokoyami, Shoji, Koda, Ojiro, Sato, and occasionally Hagakure will join in there with her guys over there. Pretty much if she's dating Ojiro, because they talked once in canon, so now they're shipped constantly. And the last group is Aoyama. Aoyama has no friends! You've all forgotten to give Aoyama friends! She's not friends with anybody. She's never in, like, the extras group. When they say, like, Tokoyami and all them, they're talking about Tokoyami, Shoji, Ojiro, and Koda, and, like, Sato. But Aoyama's never with them. Aoyama is with nobody. He has no friends and no one loves him. It's kind of hilarious. He doesn't have friends in the fandom. She doesn't have friends in canon either. She's just lonely, sparkly, flamboyant, and alone. And I'm like, oh my gosh. At least Aoyama has personality. Like, Ojiro does not have a personality. She's not really a character. She just has a tail. Sato bakes and is uncomfortably designed. Shoji has big arms. At least Koda has crippling social anxiety and bunnies. But Ojiro, Shoji, Sato, and Hagakure have no character, no personality. Nothing. They're void. They're numb. They're blank. I've yet to be convinced otherwise. They each have one defining character trait. Sato, bakey, Hagakure, is invisible. Shoji, arms greater than 2. Ojiro, tail. At least Aoyama is so interesting.
I'm starving!
Please have some fromage.
Aoyama was force-feeding me cheese.
Koda, Sato, Ojiro, Shoji, they are all mentioned way more than Aoyama is. Everybody forgets about Aoyama, and I don't know how.
Yuga Aoyama! He's building up his body by blasting naval laser! This increases the attack's range and lets him use it even with tummy issues!
Because he's amazing. He's sparkly. He takes up the room. She is the flamboyant one. He's so fabulous. And everybody always forgets about him. I haven't seen him for like the last 200 fics. What's happening? Where did he go? Why are we not using him? But I do think it's funny that the one character who is just blatantly a stereotype for just the most fabulous gay man ever, and who actually pretty much came out during the, the provisional licensing exam. Or if nothing else, his gender expression is not very traditional and he feels isolated from the others in his classroom because of it. If nothing else, something's going on there and he acknowledges it. And he's like, I love myself, but I feel so, outcast and alone, and I don't think I'm helping anyone. And you're like, oh, my poor sparkly heart. And I find it funny that he's the only one that is completely forgotten about in Class 1A. And I'm like, why? He's amazing. He's a gay sparkly boy. And we're making everybody else gay, which is fun, but can we have some Aoyama, please? At the end of the day, I want Aoyama to have friends, and I want more of him in fanfiction, because I think he's really fun, and I think he's got a really silly and also powerful superpower, and he likes carving cheese threats. And also, there might be spoilers for something that's coming up that just came out in the manga recently. I don't know. Season 6 of My Hero Academia is right about to be aired as I'm recording this. Something's happening with Aoyama, and I don't know what, and I'm excited and scared about it. She's got an overcoming anxiety arc, which are my favorites. And he has a belly button laser. It's so cool. He's trying so hard to be a hero, and he's consistently at the bottom of the class. There's a lot of angst there to work off of. Come on. Due to majority ruling, Mineta does not exist.
Hiroshima.
Yeah. I was prone to canker sores. Let's just say my brother could never be Kirishima. That's a lot farther away. I wanted to kind of
I don't know, do a different angle, but my distance vision is rapidly decaying, and I haven't gone to an optometrist yet, and it's blurrier than I wanted it to be, and that's only like 4 feet away from me. And that's not okay. I've been reading way too many fan fictions, and I've killed my distance vision. Because I like categorizing things and making lists, I came up with a list of the most common genres of fanfiction that I was either reading or that I encountered. Partially got some of this from the tags themselves that were already kind of self-disclosing what genre they were, or I just kind of created my own categories because some I find very specific, and I kind of wanted to make a title for those and just kind of lump them all together in a nice little My Hero Academia fanfiction clumps. So here are the My Hero Academia fanfiction clumps that I have categorized for you. 1. Retellings. Basically, the story is going through the same plot, but with either a minor or major difference to really spice up the story. Usually the author has like a quirk that they want to give Deku and then see how the canon plot would play out with that new quirk, or they just want to permanently turn him into a very angsty jaguar. 2. Alternate universe. Yes, technically they're all AUs. I'm talking about like big alternate universe stuff. A complete reimagining of canon with like original arcs and an original setting, or just something very drastically different that's not the actual canon. All the characters are suddenly now in How to Train Your Dragon, in like a Spirited Away universe, 200 years in the past or the future. Midoriya never got a quirk, and he never became a hero. Medieval D&D fantasy times. 3. Vigilante Deku. Ugh. Which are often also retellings as kind of like a subcategory, but it's an important subcategory because they're never good. The Mary Sue Deku, who's amazing at everything, very sassy and swears at everybody, and just he's like a 12-year-old vigilante who's better than all the heroes and just leaves hints for everybody. It tells everyone his opinions and yells at them, and everyone agrees with him because he's right all the time. Something that I would have absolutely written when I was 12. A fun fic to write, but not a fun fic to read. The law is a suggestion and sass is my weapon. Vigilante fics are kind of an aesthetic over substance problem where like everything kind of looks cool. You like the idea of a vigilante. You like the idea of him poking fun at Aizawa while he's trying to track down the vigilante. You like the idea of them being traumatized, and you like the idea of them getting into UA. Like Tokyo Ghoul. You like the idea of it and everything's very pretty, but none of the characters are really great and the plot meanders, and then just some guys sniffing panties and you're like, okay, I'm gonna fail. I mean, we got Mineta too, but again, we have a story and Mineta in My Hero Academia. Stop smelling underwear. It's weird. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna shame you for it. Just, I don't need to see it, you know? That's what I'm saying. That's always what I've been saying. I just don't want to watch you do it. I just don't want to watch you do it. I don't want to watch you smell underwear. I want to watch a superhero high school fic without underwear smelling. What am I talking about? Oh my gosh. 4. Villain Deku. So these are very different from the vigilante fics. They're much angstier. Often still have like a Mary Sue Deku who's like always right about everything, but there's a lot more just like gore all the time. So it's like Mary Sue Deku but with bad things. 5. Dads for Deku. Dadzawa, Dad Might, Yama Dad for One, any dad. All the dads. Only dads. We love him, he is a dad, and he can't escape it. Or it could be like extreme angst, like bad bio dads, you know, like dad stories. Dad stories. I feel like that's the opposite of snake poems, somehow, is dad stories. Or it could be like bad bio dad who also happens to be the most infamous supervillain in all of Japan. You know, oof, that's a lot of angst. It's a lot of angst to put in one dad. 6. Mini traumas, or the popular tag hurt/comfort. Things are bad and then they get better. These are usually like shorter kind of original arcs, or just long drawn out like angst stories. Someone is traumatized and then they get help. Usually not much else happens in these fics other than like emotion. 7. Crack fics. Just for laughs, man. They're just everyone's on drugs, so it's funny. It's like Baku Squad, like Dorm Life, just like the League of Villains shenanigans. Just, you know, just funny things happening to funny people. 8. Hawks-centric. Or as I like to call them, Our exasperated rogues. League of Villains shenanigans, the B-cast, really. The B-cast. Hawk-centric or B-cast. Hawk's angst on pro-heroes, like their relations. The League of Villains as like a family. The heroes as like trying to help Hawks out of the gaslighting situation he's in. Dobby might drag in the Todorokis. You know, this is dealing with like those B-cast scenarios where we're not really with the class 1A, but more with like the ancillary characters. 9. Keeping up with the Todorokis. Endeavor's a bad person and we're dealing with the fallout. Basically Todoroki family drama. 10. Ships or romance fics. Generally less exciting, but can do some fun things with all the random like quirks in the world. You get it. People are in love and not much else is happening. Ship and romance fics. Pass. 11. Sequels. Original arcs that aren't purely Todoroki angst or fluff or crack or dads or, you know, or whatnot. They're just original story arcs that will follow after a canonical event. So they'll create an entirely new thing that's not its own universe, but is just a continuation of canon while also a deviation from it. So it's a branch off of canon, is a sequel. Turning the page. Turning the page.
Out of the box. Out of the box.
So I did a little survey of about 48 of my favorite fics and just was kind of trying to figure out which categories I was reading the most or that, you know, made it into like the top kind of 50 fics that I was looking at. Because of course I love categorizing things and I like making lists. And remember, all of my math is completely wrong all of the time and nothing I say is ever correct. It does... No. Pages are falling down.
Out of the box. Out of the box.
If you add all the percentages up, they do equal more than 100%. Shut up. I counted some of these fics twice for like, you know, different categories if they fell into two. It's like, yes, I'm aware and it's a thing. I did it wrong, but I didn't do it wrong without reason. You know, like something could be a sequel and also like... in an alternate universe. I don't know, it's fine. My first most read category was sequels. 50% of like my 48 favorite fics were sequels, and they were original arcs. 2, Hawk-centric or Our Exasperated Rogues. 17% or about 8 fics. Number 3 were crack fics, which was 13% and about 6 fics. 4th was alternate universe at about 10% with 5 fics. 5 was retellings, 8%, about 4 fics. 6, villain deku, villain fics, 6%, 3 fics. 7, dads for deku, 2 to 4%, like 1 to 2 fics. 8 is mini traumas, the hurt/comfort, 2%, 1 fics, it's also a dad's for deku. 9, keeping up with the Todorokis, 2%, 1 fic. 10, ships/romance fics, 0 to 4%. I guess it was 2 fics, but they were also AUs. And 11, the vigilante deku. The vigilante fics, they're just... I didn't find any. I really like it when you guys are writing original content into these fics. You know, I looked into fanfiction because I want more stories with these characters in this world. So that's the stuff I like. Our exasperated rogues, or like the B-cast, that benefits from a similar concept because these people aren't like the main focus of canon. You can just kind of take these characters and kind of run with them and make new stories with them. And it's nice because these are almost always like sequel fics because they don't have the constraints of the original plot. So they're not just retelling the same story over and over again. They have to make it up. So they have to be creative. Wow, I just can't drink water without choking. Ugh.
I also just really like fics that are like, but what if like everything is pain and they're suffering all the time?
For me, at least, what separates an interesting fic from like a less interesting one is how much original content they're actually injecting into their own work. I've read through retellings of the canon story hundreds of times now. What really makes those stand out now is how much those authors are putting their own interpretations, their own new events. Most of these, you know, retellings are usually summarizing the whole arcs of canon and not giving a whole lot of original detail. A good rule of thumb, as the sludge villain is attacking Midoriya, if he drops the line, "Ah, yes, a nice medium-sized skin suit for me to hide in," bail immediately. They're not going to add anything new. It's just going to be a retelling of every line exactly as it's said in the anime per episode. You gotta get out.
which is wild because I don't think that line, oh look, a nice medium-sized skin suit for me to hide in, I don't think that's actually in the anime, dub or sub. I'm gonna have to look it up.
You'll make a perfect skin suit for me to hide in, kid.
So it sounds like the fic writers have combined the two anime versions. They take medium-sized from the sub and then skin suit from the dub. I realized I have no idea how to find official manga translations online. I've really never cracked open a manga in my life, so I don't know how to verify if the official English translation of the manga has the phrase medium-sized skin suit. From what I think I found, it probably just says M-sized body to take over, M-sized invisibility suit. It feels like a mimetic plague upon fanfiction that the authors keep having to specifically write, yes, a medium-sized skin suit for me to take over into their fics. It's a mind plague. It is a mimetic bug. It's a combination of so many different ways to say something, and yet all the writers say the exact same thing when not even all the official My Hero media could agree on the proper wording.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's in the manga translation. I don't know where this line, specifically the medium-sized skin suit, specifically looking at Midoriya and say, hey, you look like a nice medium-sized skin suit, not like a small-sized skin suit or a larger-sized skin suit. You look like a medium-sized skin suit, ready for me to hide in. I don't know why the size of the skin suit is important, but people seem to think it's important because they keep putting it in their fics. So if they're putting it in their fics, this is like one of their first writings, and it's not going to be incredibly interesting. You gotta get out. It's just going to be the same as every other retelling. No one cares what size skin suit the sludge villain is looking to obtain. So I got tired, and I had to sleep, and I didn't want to put everything on again. So we're just going to keep going. You had your little silly bad cosplay treat. Turning the page. Turning the page.
Out of the box. Out of the box.
Yes, I'm pouring water from, like, my water bottle into my stupid little ramen bowl so that I can drink out of a ramen bowl for this video. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Oh, I'm dying. Oh no. Tags are a thing in fanfiction, apparently. I think one of the boons that they have over traditional media or traditional books or like anything is that you can kind of tell what type of story it's going to become before you even read it. And it really helps you sift through what you may or may not read or what you may or may not actually be interested in, as opposed to a short synopsis or a first page. Mostly tags act as kind of like genre descriptions, give you an overview of like characters who might appear, things you might be looking out for, if something's going to be a little problematic for you to look away from. And then sometimes they have freaking spoilers, which will just drastically alter your experience of the book as a whole. So I have mixed opinions about whether or not I actually read the tags. Basically, it's nice to know what tags you need to look out for. If you want to stay away from Endhawks garbage, you gotta watch out for that Endhawks garbage. I don't want any of that Endhawks garbage. I don't want your filth. I ain't acknowledging your pornography. If I see an Endhawks tag, I'm flushing all of you, and I'm not calling a plumber. So tags do have like a very important function because it's the Wild West out there, and you're gonna see tags that you were not expecting.
I refuse to acknowledge your pornography.
Considering all the panic attacks that every character constantly has all of the time, none of you are okay, and you should take care of yourselves. So it's good that these things are here so that you can be wary, but also they can spoil things. So I hate that. Nice knowing that going in, because for just like regular books, I could pick it up and then I find something and then you feel stupid almost for getting yourself so worked up over like a situation, and then you're just upset, and everything is sad, and you're just sad about it all the time. If you are gonna read like every single tag every single time, you're gonna get spoiled for things. You're gonna have an expectation of where a story will go, or you might see a twist coming that you wouldn't have otherwise seen, and that's gonna just
change the whole experience of that fic. For example, you might have never clicked on a fic to even try to read it in the first place if it didn't have like a vigilante tag. As you're reading and Deku isn't actually a vigilante at the beginning of the fic, you think to yourself, oh, well, okay, so now I know where this is going. Eventually he's going to become a vigilante. But lo and behold, there turns out to be a secret new vigilante on the scene that even Deku doesn't know much about. I'm losing my voice rapidly. I'm trying to maintain it. I just want to get through this section. Wait, so is that the vigilante Deku? And then it's revealed that the vigilante really is Deku. But like the real Deku, and the Deku that you've been following for the whole story is a fake Deku. He's actually like a misguided clone created by Twice in an attempt to ascertain whether a clone really can forget if they're the original copy or if they're a different clone, so that Twice himself can get closure on whether or not he's the original Twice. And if you didn't know that there was gonna be a vigilante in the first place, you would have thought, oh, that can't be Deku because this is Deku. But now you're like, whoa, wait, is that the vigilante Deku? I'm confused. When Deku's... It's just gonna alter how you approach a fic. That one wasn't actually a fic. I just created that example on the spot, but like somebody should write that because it's good and I don't have time. And even just knowing that the work was tagged as a vigilante Deku fic completely alters your expectations and makes you think ahead of the story, or makes you know that some twist is coming, which otherwise you might not have expected. It might give you false expectations for the protagonist, or like an anticipation of the twist, like, well, if the vigilante Deku tag is here, does that mean that vigilante is actually Deku? Or does that mean that this vigilante, or does that mean that Deku is going to become a vigilante? Whereas if you didn't know that even to begin with, you would just never have known that that vigilante was Deku at all, or that Deku was ever going to be a vigilante. Setups and expectations is a different kind of experience with the written work that traditional publishing doesn't have. Different, not necessarily bad. Ultimately, the tag and the spoiler involved with it probably was a detriment to your expectations and experience of the fic, but you might not have ever read it in the first place if it didn't have that tag because you were really interested in a vigilante Deku fic. So you clicked on it and you were like, wow, that was a really cool story. I kind of wish I didn't know that it was a vigilante Deku fic, but I wouldn't have read it if I didn't know it was a vigilante Deku fic. Personally, I try not to read like every single tag in a fic. I just kind of scan for the ones that I would need eye bleach for. Since this has been my first delve into fan fiction and AO3 as like an adult, I've talked to no one and I've gleaned who you are and things about you, collective AO3, and the authors therein, purely by reading just your fanfics. A steep learning curve for a lot of those terms. You know, I didn't know anything about the tags or like how the character slashing was working, you know? I didn't know if we were chopping people in half or what, you know? What's a slash? I don't get it. There's a lot of terms that are thrown around that everybody seems to know, so it's just a huge learning curve, you know? It's the breadth of information. It's the same way when people are like, hey, do you want to play D&D? It doesn't take long to learn. That's a lie. Every new word is like completely new vocabulary. You have to learn a new language. Like, it's steep learning curve, you know? It's like trying to get into comic books for the first time. You've got years of history to catch up on. My Hero Academia, sure, learn 100 characters' names and eye color, and then maybe we'll be talking. And I'm like, why does everything have such a steep learning curve to get into? I mean, I still don't think I know half the terms that everybody's throwing around in terms of, like, fan fiction. It's just who I am. I never know what's happening. I don't take the time to learn. I never know who's famous or who's dying. I don't know what the little squares in the top of AO3 mean. I don't understand how Premiere Pro works. I'm not gonna look at the tutorial. I don't know if the meteor's coming to crash into us or not. I'm eternally oblivial and there is no cure. I'm just kind of gonna give a brief overview of like tags I've encountered for the first time and kind of what they mean to me in terms of like My Hero Academia. So I guess this is just kind of tags that I've learned through the course of My Hero Academia, just listing out a couple of them, what they mean, what I've encountered with them. So a couple common tags to help people like my brother, who I will just rant at for a long time about this stuff, who has no experience with like Archive of Our Own or reading fan fictions. And I had a steep learning curve, and I'll be like, oh yeah, it's like a found family hurt comfort fic. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I said. What does that mean? But now I know. So here's that.
I don't have much of a plan for how to talk about general archive tags, but here are some of the more general and important ones that I've come across in the My Hero corner of the world. With examples for context. Action/adventure. The best genre. Boom boom kapow. Alternate universe. Whoops, guess we did a D&D. Alternate canon. My Hero Academia, but if Midoriya got permanently turned into a jaguar and UA burned to the ground from arson. I think. Is that what alternate canon means? I'm really not sure. Angst. All is pain. Canon universe. This is Boku no Hero Academia. Character study. What is Bakugo? Deviates from canon. My Hero Academia, but Bakugo accidentally ripped All for One's quirk out of him in a game of high-stakes tug-of-war and is now stressed about that, and we've now, basically created a new timeline diverging off from the canon one. I think that's what deviates from canon means. Again, I'm a little... Not entirely sure. Drama. I thought he loved me. Fluff. He loves me. Friendships. They love me. Hurt/comfort. I thought he didn't love me, but he actually does. Humor. You loved me so much, I laid an egg. I have an egg now. We're parents. One shot. Single chapter book. There will be no sequel. Original characters. Danger. 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 Rarely done well. Who are you and why are you in my house? Out of character. I, Izuku Midoriya, am goth because none of you can ever understand the pain I experience every waking minute, and you have to confront what you've done to me. Oh, jeez, he's a regular Akatani Mikumo today. I heard that, you... Post-canon. Sequels. Show's not done, so we're making up a sequel. Post-season/series. Sequels. We made up a sequel, but they kept making a show, so just so you know, this deviates from canon after this specific season because we didn't have the next season to use as base yet. Sequels. Relationships. What? People? Interacting with people? No. Romance. Slow build. There's a million conversations, spy missions, preparations, and side quests we've got to get through before we reach the end of canonical episode 1 after 200,000 words. Let's go, people! Soulmate. The universe has declared a magical romance and or platonic kinship upon you. May shenanigans befall you. Spoilers. Time travel. You're gonna get turned into a jaguar. Trauma. Violence. Wump. I'm depressed and bullied, and my dad left, and might also be a supervillain. My only friend hates me. I make my mother cry, and now I'm always breaking my bones. And somehow the media got involved, and I'm having panic attacks, like so many panic attacks, and now every villain wants to kill me, and all my teachers are out to get me, and no one understands, and I'm literally having 53 panic attacks every hour. Please call help, and my quirk is probably evil, and I have so many mental health problems, and my vigilantism isn't making me feel better. I haven't slept in weeks. It's absolutely no rest. Constantly working, and I have a panic attack. Please help. I need rest. Enemies to lovers. 80s rom-com, aka literally the opposite of how love works. Found family. My people. Bad things happen bingo. Kidnapping B4. Accidental villain recruitment O2. Blackmail via media scandal I3. Daddy issues N1. Slow build, but like the romance kind. 400,000 words of pining idiots. Blood and gore. Slow burn plot. 400,000 words of idiots trying to figure out what to do next. Crack treated seriously. Fox laid an egg. Quick, how does one properly parent our egg son? Canon typical violence. Angst with a happy ending. Hug your goths. So-and-so needs a hug. Hug your non-goths, too. They are also sad. Parental so-and-so. Aizawa. It's just Aizawa. So-and-so's bad parenting. Place your bets, folks. Good friend / good sibling so-and-so. Givers of hugs. Supportive so-and-so. It's Kirishima. Who are we kidding? It's always Kirishima. Implied / referenced. Insert bad thing. So-and-so is bad at feelings. It's Bakugo. Yeah, that's Bakugo. Panic attacks. So many panic attacks. Good grief, people. Alternate universe / canon divergence. My Hero Academia, but what if Bakugo's hands were fake, though? BAMF so-and-so. Wow, look at Midoriya. He sure is bad as mama's fettuccine. Bad parent so-and-so. When we need extra angst, daddy and mommy issues provide. So-and-so's A+ parenting. Heavy sarcasm. Endeavor equals dad of the decade for sure. Protective so-and-so. When Bakugo gets his act together. Now to give a few more examples of common My Hero Academia genres, here are some of the most common My Hero Academia Academia-specific tags on Archive of Our Own, denoting different types of stories or their respective narrative beats. Vigilante Midoriya Izuku. Villain Deku. Villain Izuku. Double Spy Izuku. Midoriya Izuku has one for all quirk. Midoriya Izuku does not have one for all quirk. Midoriya Izuku has a quirk. Quirkless Midoriya Izuku. Quirk discrimination. Quirk accident. My Hero Academia. Bakugo Katsuki is a good friend. Bakugo Katsuki is bad at feelings.
Bakugo Katsuki swears a lot.
Sensei / All for One is Midoriya Hisashi.
Dabi is Todoroki Toya.
Everyone knows! Todoroki Enji / Endeavor's bad parenting. Aizawa Shota / Eraserhead is so done. Shinso Hitoshi replaces Mineta Minoru. Mineta Minoru does not exist. Mineta Minoru dies. These people. And then, just for the giggles, here's a collection of some of my favorite My Hero Academia tags that I've just so happened to stumble across. Bakugo makes friends by physically assaulting them. Let Izuku rest 2021?
Midoriya's hair is fluffy because it's full of secrets.
Screw romance. We're too busy screwing up at the hero course. It's Bakudeku if you want it to be. Feral Roraka. Takami Keigo / Hawks acts like a bird. Cult leader Midoriya Izuku. Bakugo Katsuki / Consequences. Takami Keigo / Stress. My personal favorite /fic. Midoriya's quirk is controlling worm armies. I didn't even read that one. I just thought it was really funny. No beta. We die like the men Kirishima believes us to be. Mineta Whomst? I only know Shinso. Who let them be siblings? Accidental adoption. Aizawa Shota and so many children. I think that's all I gotta say for the tags. Aizawa Shota and so many children. Oh, it's so good.
I don't know what I've done to my face. It turns out that I just am Aizawa on the inside. Apparently I just have Aizawa's hair. That's just who I am now. I was always destined for this. Kind of a low effort kind of cosplay for a low effort kind of guy. They're not yellow, but they are. I do have goggles. Well, they're very small. Oh, I think these are for children. Go to class. Go to class. Go to class. Oh no, my eye bags. That was a mistake. Welcome back to class. You know, this is almost accurate because I did, last night I did stay up all the way till 7 a.m., but then I passed out till 12 p.m., so 5 hours of sleep. I gave myself a beard and now I'm just white surfer hobo Jesus. With a scarf. Let's talk about problems. Yeah, there's problems. Will we talk about them? I don't know. I tried to talk about them, then I tried to write about it, and then I was just kind of complaining about things that I was not qualified to talk about. So I remember this was supposed to be comedic, so I drew a beard on my face. Is that comedy? I'm me. I'm just me in an Aizawa outfit. It's surprisingly good for just finding things in my room. One, I like that the show has a lot of diversity in characters and different portrayals of gender. This has nothing to do, I just thought the person, I have 4 cosplays planned, and I just figured the person most likely to just complain about things would be Aizawa. So, this doesn't have to do with a beard. This isn't a statement. Hobo Jesus is not a statement. This man is too young to be in charge of these children. It's obviously stereotyping and general trends, but there's some good exceptions too. I love punk rock Jiro. She's great. I like blunt and self-confident Asui. I like that Uraraka is super competitive and she will impale you. She will impale you. For a sports festival. Yao Yorozu is just so cool, even though, she has the Urza Scarlet syndrome of, fan service, but that's not her fault. She's a good character. I like Yao Yorozu. And it would be fine if they, chose to wear those outfits, but there's always, people would be weird about it. Just don't be weird about it, then it's not a problem. I like that Midoriya is genuinely kind and excited and a fanboy and a nervous wreck. I like that. He's nice. I love that Koda is super sweet and that Kirishima will cry about how manly the Wild Wild Pussycats are. Kirishima cries about manly female pro heroes.
You're so manly, wild pussycats! Dude, cool it.
He loves his masculinity, and he doesn't make it bad. Kirishima's very, like, Major Alex Louis Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, who I have just discovered is All Might. Of course! His character is All Might. The voice actor is All Might. How did I not know this? He's so flamboyant and he loves himself. He's a sweetheart and the manliest man you'll ever find. I love that. Like Yagi and Kirishima. So obviously My Hero is very heavily male focused and all the ladies get sidelined. Uraraka literally meteor shower. She could have done that move on Overhaul. He was all like up there and there's just debris everywhere. That would have been helpful. There's a lot of like gender stereotype quirks. I don't know, I'm not gonna judge her. That's why I'm not really talking about problems. Because my opinions are wrong. We got like a token female ration, you know, like one in the big three, Midnight being the only female on staff. If we had like two and they were very opposite, that'd be okay. But one and her being Midnight, I'm not so sure how I feel about that. Toga, and I guess Magna, like, you know, but she's dead. So Toga is now the only female in, like, all the Villain League. There's only 6 out of 20 students in 1A, which is a similar ratio in 1B. General anime thing, more female characters doing more things in more plot lines. You know, you got some good characters. Let's do more things with them and stop dressing them up in cheerleader outfits so that people will watch your show. Will watch it regardless. Let's have the females do some more cool things, you know? Get an Urza and a Lucy in there, you know? They're pretty and they do cool things. As your teacher, I don't want to see it, you know? So you would think that fandom would be a good place to fix these problems. Yeah, you'd be wrong. You would think so. But as I touched on a little bit before, the ladies rarely play an important role in any of the fics. And again, I think that's mostly because they're not built in with plot lines or tragic backstories. But that means you just gotta be creative. It really doesn't matter what you do so long as you do it well. I've had a thing where Snipe becomes a very cool character because they're just like, I'm gonna use Snipe, and I'm like, sure. So if we're just like, I'm gonna use Asui, sure. They don't have to be the main character. It was a Hawks fic, and Snipe just happened to be so cool in it. And Miracle is cool in that fic too. And Katniss from the Hunger Games. Todoroki comes pre-packaged with like parental, sibling, mommy, daddy, drama, issues, quirk, brother, the Midoriya, the homeschool, fire, ice. Yaoyoro's is just like, she doesn't have any plot lines. Todoroki's got like 3. Kirishima was like spearheading the Bakugo arc, so he like has more plot lines, even though he has the same character arc as Yaoyorozu. They did more things with him, so we do more things with him. Plus, we want him to kiss Bakugo, so he gets in the fanfics. But we want Yaoyorozu to kiss Jiro, so I don't see why she can't be in the fanfics and why Jiro, she's a goth punk rocker. Sonic Boom, that's so cool. I want more Jiro. I want more of the goth kids in the fics. I don't think that the lack of actual, like, big role female characters in this fandom is because the fandom is sexist, but more just, it's not an easy material to just grab bag. Oh, and Japan just loves making us uncomfortable with their character designs, don't they? Sato. How do we tell them? Who do we call? Problem. Canonical Magna. Need I say more? I'm not really gonna get into it. They tried. They didn't handle that well. No. I'm glad Toga and Twice are good allies, at least. No comment. But on the other hand, in the manga, Tiger from the Wild Wild Pussycats is also canonically trans. There's no problem there, because he's just living his best life and being amazing. I love him. We know 2 things. Originally a woman. I once visited Thailand. Illuminating backstory. I once visited Thailand. Again, this is just we're talking about problems, and Aizawa was gonna complain at his students so they learn things. This is not a statement. I wanted to draw a beard on myself. That's the statement. So in fanfiction, are you okay? I don't think you're okay. There's a lot of
like suicide and self-harm themes. It's always portrayed as a health issue and as a bad thing. It's not glorified in any way, but it's there and there's a lot of it. So, you know, since a lot of these situations aren't normally portrayed in general media, I'm guessing it's probably very cathartic to, you know, talk about these issues in a sense, like in the same way that the LGBTQ community is really represented in fan fiction because it's really struggling to get in any other media. Every media will get way too like weird and stalkery and sexual harassment-y. Stop it. You don't have to do that. Not stop. Do it. Just be careful with how you portray things and if it's good for you. Maybe I'm saying read the tags. I'm getting hot. It's like barely fall. It's been fall for like 4 days. Okay, thing to mention, problem, thing that bothers me. Too much hate. Too much, like, self-righteousness. You are bad. I hate everything about you. Let me just be in front of this camera and list all the ways that you are a terrible person and I am justified. Very cathartic, very fun to write. Not so fun to read. I like nuance. Careful of always being right. Teacher moment. Dad Zawa says, careful. Be nice. Problems. I regret everything I do and I'm ashamed of all I am. Oh, Mineta too. I want Mineta to be better. He needs therapy. And like good role models. I do hate. Let's get him some help. Get him some help. It's great and super cathartic and a perfect venting source, and by all means use it. But I also love well thought out character realizing that and admitting they're in the wrong and changing their ways. I love Zuko. I'm saying we need some fics where Mineta gets like, you know, thrown into prison, and we need somewhere he's able to change his ways, because both are probably super important in the real world for, you know, sexual harassment. Oh, and then I write, really though, help, it's 2:40 a.m. and I'm writing this, I don't know if I'm going to sleep tonight. This isn't hyperbole, please send help. That wasn't hyperbole. I was actually awake at 2:40 a.m. just going on a self-deprecating little tornado into the ocean. Whirlpool. It's called a whirlpool. It's ocean tornado. It's fan fiction. Who cares? You know, problems? It doesn't matter, you know? This is for you. This is something you want to do, and it's fine. So don't listen to me. Don't worry about it. We're here because we want to read about super-powered high schoolers. What are you talking about? None of it matters. Get out of here, Dad Zawa. You're ruining our fun. I know. I'm sure there's like more problems that I can actually discuss at length with proper thought and respect. But no, this is gonna be comedy. Go watch Sarah Zed. She'll help you out. I have to go show my family my face now, and I don't really want to. I don't even know what I was talking about. Was any of that even helpful? What were the problems?
I made this a really long time ago, and I thought that in my infinite wisdom, I would do like a sequence where I would like throw knives. It didn't really pan out, and I've just been this has just been on a dresser of my room, I think, for like 2 years. Now this is just here, and I don't quite know what to do with it. I don't know how to incorporate this thing I made.
I have so much merch nonsense that I just didn't get to show off. I have acquired art. He's new. I've got a whole blanket. Kaminari. Look at how stretched he looks in this angle. There's a bunch of characters here. Yeah, Yorozu's got a lot of boobs happening, so I'm just gonna let her be in her hero costume over there. I'm not even gonna try. I just want this video done. What I learned about fandom. I'm not big on social media. I'm not big on social anything, really. Just interaction. Social interaction, nah. Even the thought of just like talking about something I enjoy with strangers on the internet in a fandom, nah. I have been on the outskirts looking in, peeking in, learning about you all from your fanfiction. I didn't go on to any forums, if that's even the word that is still in use. I was old even when I was 12. I'd never have understood. I've always been out of the loop. It's fine. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't look at any online discussions about My Hero Academia. So there was a learning curve. And here are some of my discoveries about fandom. Basically, you could just say that what fanfiction is
just first drafts of novels, but with like 500% more like suffering and panic attacks and like LGBTQ plus representation. That's basically just what fanfiction is. First drafts of unpublished novels where you can suffer a lot and be gay. Oh my gosh, it's so true.
Fandom wants everyone to be gay and kiss, and also be traumatized, and that's hilarious. First thing is that there's so much knowledge that's just assumed that you know. We touched on this before, but also about fandom tropes. They assume you understand what you were looking at, and I simply did not. They assume that you are as big of a fan of My Hero Academia as the author is, and they assume that you have lived in fandom and understand tags and different story tropes and types and group chat fics, and they assume you know everything when I knew nothing. The most egregious assumption is that you already know every single character's name, all of their names, and the colors of their eyes. I do not. This assumed knowledge of characters' names and descriptions and quirks is absolutely just devastating to a first-time reader who has not watched the original show in upwards of a year. It's a lot. So some things I've learned about fandom or of just fan fiction, more specifically just fan fiction, is that the authors forget that this takes place in Japan. I am reading English fics from people who are writing in English, and they make weird assumptions about what the characters do and say because the story is in Japan. Example 1, it just really annoys me when the characters only ever eat cereal for breakfast, and I feel like that's not incredibly accurate. Weird little hang up, but I don't like it when they're like, and they ate cereal for breakfast. Give them some miso soup every now and again. Roll up an egg omelet. When I was in Korea, there was it was like a cabbage salad with like a yogurt dressing in the cafeteria every day for breakfast, and like toast and jam. There was variety. It's not all cereal. Plus, these are superheroes in training. They are not going to be eating sugar. They're in Japan and they are athletes. They are not going to be eating cereal for every breakfast. Or maybe even at all.
Example 2. For English writers trying to make their stories take place in Japan, there is nothing that irks me more, is a bigger pet peeve than in your pseudo-Japanese otaku writing than writing the phrase, "oh my kami." It peels my skin. It really...
You will write, "oh my kami," instead of, "oh my god." It just grates on my cheese grater skin, and I am the cheese and I am the cheese grater all at the same time, and we are perpetually at war with each other. Problem 1, the characters are not speaking English. We're kind of assuming that when we're writing in English, we understand that they're speaking Japanese. "Oh my god" might be a common expression in English and other Latin languages. Dios mío, mon Dieu, odio. But it's not an expression used in Japan. There's not much of a historic presence of monotheism as reflected in the linguistic catchphrases of Japanese. Not a thing. And kami doesn't even quite properly translate to God. It's kind of more like a class of being. So in a similar vein, a proper translation of that phrase could equally be translated to, "oh my fairy." And that's weird. It's lame, and I don't like it. The author is making an assumption on how Japanese works based on their own native language and artificially inserting a Japanese word in the middle of the phrase to make it sound more authentic. It would be the same idea if an author is writing in Spanish, if Spanish is the language of the fan fiction, but the story takes place in America. The Spanish-speaking author is writing a phrase to try and make their character sound more American. So maybe they'll make a character say, "Déjame en paz, goat," which literally translates to "leave me alone, you goat." falsely assuming that goat is a swear word in English, the same like it is in Spanish. And it's not. It just sounds weird and lame and bad. You're just saying, leave me in peace, goat. And it doesn't work to make it sound more authentically American. It's making it sound less authentically American and more like a Spanish-speaking author is trying to insert Americanisms where they are simply incorrect. It sounds... The phrase, oh my kami, is pain on every level. What was a swear word in Spanish is literally just goat in English. In fact, it could be the opposite, you know? Oh, leave me in peace, you greatest of all time, you. Doesn't work. Don't do it. I don't like the phrase, oh my kami. I do not like it. You won't stop writing it, though. And what's more is that Kami is a nickname for Kaminari sometimes. So now I'm like, what's Kaminari doing? Why are you saying, oh, my Kami at him? And then I'm like, oh, they're trying to say, oh, my God, in an annoying way. No! The biggest problem. In conclusion, the phrase, oh, my Kami is linguistically wrong on every level and makes everything bad and not good and less fun and less good and bad. Don't use it. Unless you want to, of course. It's fan fiction and nobody cares. Do what you want. But don't use omigami. Another thing I just want to say is that everybody is drastically underestimating how much time these kids need to work out in order to remain in peak top physical condition to be the lead superheroes of their country. For an elite school of superheroes, you're giving these kids way too much free time. People are saying like, oh, they had like an hour of PE a day. Nope. Not gonna fly. Nope. Everyone is just drastically underestimated, which I get because the people writing this are shut-in nerds who watch anime and cartoons and spend their time writing fan fiction. They're probably not working out. Well, I can't say that. It seems like nobody is an athlete who writes these, and that's weird. I was like a low level at like 13 years old. I was like a low tier gymnast, and I was putting in 18 hours a week into the sport. That's for a 13-year-old who's not at all trying to be the best of their field, you know? That's 18 hours a week is standard, and we were not, and that was not the high tier gym. That's like mid-tier gymnastics kind of situation. So for a recreational sport at mid-tier for a 13-year-old is 18 hours of training time a week. So what I'm saying is these kids having like an hour a day of PE, no, not gonna cut it. They are constantly going. Less time for socialization and video game and more time in the gym. It's not authentic, and that's just a little pet peeve of mine. It's like, you guys don't know how much they need to do push-ups. What I also learned about fandom in general is that there's a collective headcanon that you just kind of suddenly absorb one day. I think that's what it was called, like the unknowable prequel, the collective headcanon that you somehow become absorbed into over the course of time. For example, Aizawa and Mike are obviously happily married, and they adopt Shinso and sometimes Eri. Shinso is in foster care and was probably muzzled at some point in his past because of his quirk, and therefore is traumatized, and probably Mike was as well. Hawks and Mirako are best friends. Obviously, Hawks is in some sort of messy, tangled romance situation with scarred and traumatized Dabi. Kaminari has ADHD and is dyslexic, which is a weird situation because it technically might be read as canonical in the sub, but not the dub or the manga versions, because the sub made a translation error when they were reading off like 137, they wrote it as like 173 or something.
Whoa, 705 meters?
People took that as meaning that Kaminari is canonically dyslexic, but actually they just translated it wrong, and so technically he's he's dyslexic in the sub, but not the dub or the manga, which I find hilarious and very telling of fandom in general. Ground Zero is apparently not Bakugo's canonical hero name, and I am still not over it. Aizawa made it into the hero course by winning the sports festival and is training Shinso to do the same. Bakugo and Mike are hard of hearing and no sign language. Mineta does not exist. There's almost a collective narrative constructed amongst the fans as ideas are enjoyed and therefore propagated, and I find that very cool. On the flip side, it can have authors feel pressure to conform to that narrative, and if they don't meet those expectations, if Aizawa and Mike are not married, or if someone is just simply not in a relationship with somebody, or someone ends up being a villain, audiences might have a negative reaction to that and pressure authors accordingly, and that's not so cool. Let everyone tell their own stories and enjoy all the varied stories we can find. For example, an author might want to write a story around Dabi and not necessarily involve Hawks, just because they're not super interested in that character, and people could get a little weird and upset about that. They're like, but Hawks is in part of Dabi's story. And it doesn't have to be. We just all decided that, truly. Also, a lot of you just really don't like All Might, and you get really mad at him. Like, would you really get mad at All Might if he gave you a superpower? Like, if you just were like, hey, do you want a superpower? Oh, we're gonna be mad at you because you didn't do it super responsibly. I don't know. I'd be kind of stoked. I like him. I like Dead Might. I like All Might a lot. A lot of you don't. It's a little strange, but okay. Like, he's a little dumb, but he's not that dumb. Things I learned about fandom. You like watching people suffer. None of you know what you're doing, and that's okay. That's okay. Hardly any of you finish your fics, and I'm going to strangle someone. And then the ones that do finish, it's just such a slow update, and I'm not judging, because every time I've tried to write one, I just don't write it anymore. So I get it. But I didn't post it and build up people's false expectations. I'm not saying that. Kirishima is great, and you're all okay in my books for agreeing with me. One thing I will say, advice or something I really want to see made a little better in fanfiction, or maybe AO3 specifically, is there need to be better summaries for your fics. The summary is everything. More than the tags, truly, I would say. The summary is the back of the book. It's the first line. It's what you read and decide if you're gonna even click on the fic to check it out or not. It's so important, and some of my favorite fics have the worst summaries, and I'm like, I would not... I clicked on this just to kind of check it out on an off chance, but if I had read what the actual description was, or something a little more intriguing, I could have found this sooner, and I could find so many more fics. Sell yourself in your summary. Sell yourself. Tell us what's up. Tell us the summary. One of my favorite fics, one of the most angst-ridden adventures I've ever been on, doesn't tell you that it's not about Hawks. It's about Hawks having time travelers stuck in his head and having to fix the whole world as it all crumbles around him. And that's not reflected in the summary, and I barely clicked on it. It's so good. Again, Fandom, nobody knows how to localize anything. I've learned that you're all incredibly enthusiastic about this franchise, and that's wonderful. No one's masking their enthusiasm with a layer of sarcasm or maturity, and that's really fun. And that's really fun to be a part of. There's so much porn. So much porn. Sometimes they hide it and they don't warn you, and then suddenly, oh, so much porn. I don't have much else to say regarding fandom specifically. Did I even learn anything about fandom? Probably not. Probably a lot. Probably everything. Probably nothing. Ultimately, I think fandom is someone saying, I like this thing, and somebody else saying, hey, I like that too. And fanfiction is just writing sequels of stories that you enjoyed. And I think that's also very cool. It's pretty cool and very varied. If something doesn't quite suit your tastes, you skip it and you move on. And there's thousands more that do find your tastes. And what the heck am I saying? There's great works of fiction and great works of art all celebrating something that people were affected by and really liked. And I'm glad that fandom exists. It's cool. In My Hero fanfiction too is that people will relate teenagers to things they enjoyed as a teenager, so they will all sit around and watch silly videos. In this particular fandom, I saw like a transition, and you could kind of tell how old someone was writing it, because sometimes they would sit around and watch Vines and quote Vines to each other, and then in the next fic they would be quoting like TikToks and referring to TikTok specifically. And one that's just so funny to me. These fics have spanned so many years of authors' ages and writing and different associations of different cringy teenagers writing cringy references into their cringy fanfiction. But it just shows that people are having fun across different years, and it's crazy. Also, I've just never read about so many panic attacks in my whole life. I've learned about grounding techniques. That's cool. Thank you for that. That might come in handy. Fanfiction is very rarely a place for moral ambiguity. Most characters are either 100% good or 100% bad. Fanfiction characters and most stories are often a source of escape and comfort, as opposed to telling compelling, complex moral stories. Generally, it's a place of getting out frustrations. If a certain character frustrates you, fanfiction can be a way to write some sort of comeuppance or some sort of moral judgment for that character, as opposed to exploring why they are that way. And often it's a sense of catharsis for a hero or someone who's in a bad situation, that they're good all the time and always in the right. It's a type of escapism. It's a trope, and there's certainly a place for it, and I really like those stories. But I like some moral ambiguity too. But it does tend to lean more towards absolute moral right and wrong characters, as opposed to more open, ambiguous stories. But I think that's because people latch on to one thing and they want to explore it more, and they want to see somebody get their comeuppance because they didn't get it, or they want to see someone get victory because they didn't in the original. Just an interesting note. But sometimes after you've read one too many fan fictions where the heroes are always right and the villains are always completely bad and wrong, I really do appreciate authors who explore a little bit more moral ambiguity, or do a redemption arc, or just do something a little bit different for most of fan fiction. It's easy to defend your actions, and it's hard to be wrong. And I always appreciate when someone in their free time chooses to write a story that's not purely I'm right and you're wrong, and this is my catharsis. And it is nice to see somebody putting a little thought and effort into moral ambiguity into their self-indulgent fanfiction. And some of you just want to watch Bakugo fail miserably at asking Midoriya out on a date, and I appreciate you. Some of you just want to cry. Some of you just want to cry all the time. Your ships are either really weird, really cute, or really dramatic. It's disturbing, kinda dull, and morbidly intriguing in that order. The things that you guys come up with are just astounding to me. Like, it's My Hero Academia. But what if Bakugo's hands were fake, though? Like, what if his hands were fake prostheses? My Hero Academia. But what if Midoriya was permanently turned into a jaguar, and we explore the morbid fascination and discrimination that this would cause in a very realistic and kind of upsetting way? Okay. Sure, let's do that then. Your premises are hilarious and amazing, and I have enjoyed every second of them. Here's just a handful of really creative premises that I've encountered that you might get a kick out of.
Here's a handful of intriguing premises. The stories themselves didn't have to be great, but they're fun concepts. Aizawa, but he's a dad, though. Midoriya, but he's a wolf, though. Midoriya, but he's Captain America, guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He's just Captain America. Midoriya, but she's a demon princess, though. Midoriya just manifests a ton of quirks from the past users of One for All and generally has a bad day. Villain Deku, but he's like actually serious about it, and this is super bleak and depressing, but I can't look away. There's a space alien war happening for some reason. I'm a little confused. Bakugo's a one-man pride parade. Bakugo has a bunch of tiny Midoriyas that constantly follow him around and no one else can see them. Best genist acquires a son. 1A has been in a time loop for so long that they've given up and are practically immortal gods now, and they're just in it for the memes. Dabi, but he has absolutely no idea who he is. This very much annoys Shigaraki. Shinso is lazy and bad at time travel. Time loops. So many time loops. 1A are incompetent teenagers living in dorms, and they just destroy everything. Everything is destroyed. Pro Hero Deku likes cosplaying at HeroCon, and no one can ever find him because he's just that good at it. Your soulmate's first words to you are permanently written on your skin, and Kaminari is determined to make his partners a cheesy pickup line. Bakugo is not going to let the universe tell him that Midoriya is his soulmate, even if it means wearing a bag over his head to hide how their hair color keeps swapping back and forth, or that a string suddenly appears tying the two together. Absolutely no one can know. Midoriya's goth. Obviously, get over yourself. Villain Pen Pal Program. My Hero Academia, but you confuse like you're in Steven Universe. My Hero Academia, but if they let a perpetually drinking counselor with a brutal honesty quirk get on the payroll. My Hero Academia, but wait, no, it's actually Spirited Away. My Hero Academia, but wait, no, it's actually How to Train Your Dragon. My Hero Academia, but wait, no, this isn't My Hero Academia. This is 8 1A heroes from the future trying to save the world, but they're now stuck in past Hawks' head, and they're panicking, and Hawks is panicking, and oh my gosh, everything's going to pot! Bakugo and Todoroki are half siblings, and Todoroki's psyched to have another brother. Bakugo less so. Toya and Fuyumi Todoroki get body swapped, featuring rage baking, a pair of unamused twins, and totally not a single murder. Why would there be murder? Don't be ridiculous. Katsuki and Momo quirk swap. Momo is highly distressed about the uncontrollable, exploding hand thing. Very fair thing to be distressed about. All for One takes over Japan, appoints Midoriya as the new supreme overlord, then dips. Hawks is a bird. He acts like a bird. Bakugo decides he will become the better genus. Hawks lays an egg. Deku is just a psychopathic serial killer, like all the way serial killer. Super serial killer. Wow. Whoa. Kaminari used to be the most infamous assassin the world has seen, and none of it was at all his fault ever. None of the murders at all were his fault, not even a little bit. I mean, come on, guys. Midoriya has a kiss-slave quirk and is sometimes invisible. Bakugo accidentally yanks All for One's quirk right out of his body. Whoops. Bakugo. But what if his hands were fake, though? Kaminari is secretly a famous model, and everyone thinks he's hot. Midoriya updates Hero Wikipedia with weirdly detailed info, and it goes viral. Midoriya is permanently turned into a jaguar. Midoriya is All Might's secret love child. Todoroki doesn't suspect this. Aizawa got hit by a quirk and he can't stop crying. Midoriya and Bakugo battle suburbanite Susan and her terrible casseroles. The Baku squad put a bunch of chickens in Nedzu's office. Mike is very proud. Todoroki is tired and just wanted to buy some milk. Now he's traveling through time and tired and just wanted to buy some milk. Bakugo realizes Dabi's a Todoroki because he eats Kit Kats really weird. Bakugo crashes the wrong wedding. Now he has to plan Midoriya's makeup wedding because he accidentally crashed the first one. Aizawa does not want to teach sex ed.
Also, this is Burb. This is Burb, the little tiny Nomu. He's a tiny little kind of crow, Nomu bird, and I didn't really have a way of incorporating him into the video, but here he is. He's beautiful, and he craves human flesh. While I have you here, I was gonna do kind of a little dance, and ultimately I don't really want to put too much more effort into this whole kind of thing. So here's I did this. I did this for a while. This is what I did.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And then I stopped trying to do a weird acapella scream thing, and I don't want to finish it. So here's a little bit more of that.
Where is all my free time gone? Did I offend the gods? Where's my found family reads, and where's the Baku squad?
Where did they go?
Isn't there an angst fic to make me cry? I plead. Late at night I toss and I turn and I dream of what I'll read. I love my hero. I'm still reading, eyes bleeding till the end of the night. The broccoli boy strong, the stickler is fast, and Explodo kills getting in fights.
Fight.
Boku no Hero. I'm still reading, eyes bleeding till the morning light. The ending is near, it's just gotta be soon. Oh good gods, this fics longer than life. Longer than life. Reading way past midnight in the wilds of AO3. Superhero high school fics worried for my insanity. Learning every nickname just so that I can meet 100 different supermen to sweep me off my feet. Some move the mountains, some soar way up above. Your use of lightning worries me.
So worried.
I can swear that I was always watching thee.
Always watching.
Some use wind, some just sparkle all day.
Sparkle.
Most fics are just duds.
They are
but
duds.
The great and the few, they bring life to my blood. 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 Yeah! I love my hero. I'm still reading, eyes bleeding till the end of the night. The broccoli boy strong, the stickler is fast, and Explodo kills getting in fights. Fight! Boku no... Boku no Hero. I'm still reading, eyes bleeding till the morning light. The ending is near, it's just gotta be soon. Oh good gods, this fics longer than life. Longer than life. Longer than life.
Okay, yep, thank you.
In conclusion, I read a lot of fanfiction. It was stupid and it was fun. But when it comes down to it, the worst part of fanfiction is that half of these stories don't even have an ending. They're half-finished, abandoned projects that don't end, they just stop.